Hi everyone. We forgot to record an intro, and since I'm editing, I'm going to do one, and it's gonna be Resident Evil themed, so bear with me. Welcome to the Let's Fight a Boss video game podcast, the world's strongest video game podcast. I'm not sitting here with anyone, but emotionally and spiritually to my right, with a body as complex as Chris Redfield, the human meat slab, it's Brian. To my left, she looks cooler in a leather jacket than Claire Redfield, and has hip pouches for days. It's Neve. Hi. And with you always, your host and human T-virus, Gemesis.
Yeah, I've started rolling as well.
But yeah, people are so mad about items. It's so silly.
But it's probably because he has like a certain audience that like hold him to the highest esteem, and that like anything that is sort of not part of their red-blooded masculinity is very upsetting.
Yeah, and just the whole simp thing is so in vogue. It's just the new internet boogeyman.
Does simp have the same meaning as cook?
Simp is like... It's like the new version of cook, but with more of an implication of like, you support an e-girl, you give her lots of money, and she'll never have sex with you.
Okay.
It's 2020's cook.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's like a subdivision.
And is simp short for simple? Like,
No.
you're a
You see,
simpleton, you're simple?
It used to mean that, and like, I kind of liked that definition because like, simp was like a rube, like, you know, someone you could swizz out of some money.
Yeah.
And now it means someone who pays for porn, which is quite common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
But like, need one girl for porn.
Oh, okay.
So like that girl, Nico Lull, like I kind of blew up with her.
Oh. Look, if you have one girl who you think is cute, go for it.
I don't. Yeah, like it's just. Oh yeah, sure, whatever. And if that girl wants to be in a relationship outside that stuff, cool.
It's so wild.
I mean, people, they're just...
Are they more mad that he has a girlfriend at all?
I think really what it is that, like, because of iDubbbz being, like, you know, basically being, like, the boogeyman of, like, the drama community, there's, like, always a tension building there, like a powder keg waiting to go off, and all it was going to take was the smallest thing.
Man.
And now, like, a lot of people are like, iDubbbz killed Leafy, and maybe this will bring Leafy back.
Leafy does not need to come back.
He also doesn't want to. I'm sad about how much of this shit I know about. But yeah, iDubbbz is a simp, and we can't support him anymore.
Pour one out for the simp king.
Another one. I can't believe all my heroes are simps.
See, like, to me, a simp is that guy in the Louis Theroux documentary in the polyamory relationship.
Yeah.
Like, that dude whose wife did whatever she wanted, and he was just kind of like nothing. I still
he
think
made me
about
so sad.
That is the saddest man I've ever seen.
Brian, I watched an episode of Dark Side of the Ring there.
Yeah.
That I want to watch with you when all this goes back to normal. It's about
great.
New Jack.
Yeah.
And New Jack was a black wrestler in Smoky Mountain, Alabama wrestling, and his whole gimmick was fuck white people.
Brilliant.
Hell yeah.
And it was...
Fuck 'em.
But he's also like... He also went on to be like one of the most infamous and violent hardcore wrestlers ever. And it's like... I just watched the episode. I'm a little shook by some of the stuff I saw.
So, like, is he like the DMX of wrestling?
How did he describe himself? Less safe than DMX.
Okay.
Like I would argue he maybe pushed things a little too far in places. Like he has this one promo where he just comes out and he goes, "Props to my brother OJ. Too less to worry about."
Oh shit! Whoa.
Yeah, and this was in like redneck Alabama wrestling.
Okay, so he was just goading people.
Yeah,
Just full force heel.
yeah. Guys, this whole conversation has been pretty good. I say we leave it in.
Yeah, sure.
Like, but we should do a sync test, and we can cut the sync test out. Sorry if that's more work for you, Neve.
It's okay.
Okay, so do you guys remember how we did the test last time?
You count down
Yeah,
from
we
10,
get
we
to
join in
7.
at 7. Yeah.
Do we
Yep.
say 7 or do we wait till 6?
It doesn't really matter. It's just so that when you line the WAV forms up, you can see all the points that they're meant to sync at.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. But I just like to be
I'll-
neat.
We can say 7.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd really like to say 7. It's a good number.
Well,
It is a cute number.
how about we say 7 this time, but then next time we do this, we can talk over if saying 7 was the right way to go or not, and we can readjust from there.
It sounds like a great plan. Perfect.
That's a very diplomatic decision.
Yeah, well, we're all about fairness on this podcast.
Yeah.
10, 9, 8,
7,
6,
5,
4, 3,
3,
2, 1,
1.
go.
0.
0.
I think I said go, Neve said 0, and Brian said nothing.
Yeah.
But no, that should work fine. Yeah. Do you guys have anything else you want to say before we enter the actual podcast?
I've turned off my camera because I might pick my nose, and that's a private thing I do.
That's okay.
Fair. Thanks,
it doesn't
Brian.
stop you. It doesn't stop you when we're recording live.
No.
No. Or eating your eyes.
I like eating my eyes. Look,
I wish I hadn't noticed you do that.
Wait, what? Is
It's
this disgusting? Do I want to know?
Neve, you don't want to know.
Okay.
it's my body. I can do what I want with it.
That is true, but still, gross.
It's not gross. It's my body.
Which is beautiful. Should we do an update and see where everyone is? Like, how's everyone doing with, the situation?
You mean
Do you want to do that
Yeah.
on the podcast or?
Well, yeah, we're on the podcast right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh God. Okay. I was thinking after the last episode that if I could send one episode of this podcast back in time to freak us out the most, it would be the last episode.
Yeah. Oh, no. Who saw this coming? I was
just no
thinking about
context.
our end of year, like, our predictions and just how fucked they all are.
Yeah.
Oh, completely. Will E3 be disappointing this year? Yeah, but how you guys doing? It's strange times.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, same. Kind of jumping between being okay and supremely not okay. Like, I think most people are.
Yeah. You try and kind of find like nice small little things in the midst of everything. Like I've gotten back into cleaning the apartment very, very like minutely, and I found a missing piece of an anime figure that I lost a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I'm clearing out all my old books, and I found like a bunch of like, the odd comic or novel that I picked up on a whim one day and then never read. And so I've been reading them, and that's been kind of fun.
I've just been sleeping a lot, generally.
Do you guys have this sense that, like, I feel like since this whole thing started, it's all just been one gigantic long day that I occasionally go to sleep during?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard to tell what day it is today because it's been more or less the same routine.
Yeah. It's very strange. And then sometimes I think I'm kind of running out of ways to spend time. Last night I got drunk on a bunch of beer and watched Thelma and Louise.
Oh, Thelma and Louise, hell yeah.
That film's great.
Fucking great movie. Holy shit, that's a good movie.
I love Gina Davis.
I'd never see. Yeah, she's brilliant.
She's so cool.
So good. Her character design just keeps improving every minute of that movie.
There's some
And
badass
by the end of it,
ladies.
she has like the t-shirt and the trucker cap, and she looks amazing.
Yeah, I really, really like her hair.
Yeah, but yeah, the whole thing's still very strange, and it's weird that there's like not really much of an end in sight. I feel bad for anyone who has like kids, because every podcast I listen to, if anyone on it has kids, it sounds like it's the roughest time.
Yeah,
I
it's
can't
not fair
imagine,
on anyone.
Yeah, trying to
It
keep
sounds-
kids busy but not
like-
scare them as well, because you don't want to be like,
Yeah.
we can't go outside for these terrible reasons. So it's like this fine
Yeah.
line of explaining it but not freaking them out.
Yeah, and it's also like here is another full-time job,
Yep.
Yeah.
and it's just it's pretty wild. But I have been consuming media to help me through this rough patch.
As have I.
You have indeed. Neve, you have not.
Yeah, it says nothing.
Well, I have, but like, I don't know. It's all very cheerleader centric, and I didn't know if I wanted to talk about it.
Hey,
So-
that's
Okay,
for
'cause
you.
the
That's your
impression-
own private thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like we all have our kinks and stuff. Like it's
Okay.
fine.
No, not that.
Neve, it's cool. It's cool. Don't worry about it. Don't let anyone ever judge you for your taste.
Yeah,
okay?
Neve, it's fine.
Thanks, guys.
No problem. But yeah, this Google Doc, Neve, would lead me to believe that you have been sitting stationary for 2 weeks since the last time we did this podcast.
Well, she was sleeping.
just waiting for us to return.
I was sleeping.
Yeah, but she can sleep in her chair.
In her sleeping chair. Like, she has a wicker chair and she just like sits into it, and like she has like grooves on the like armrest for like each like finger, and like her tips kind of just like clasp around the like cusp of it, and she just goes and then wakes up 2 weeks later for another podcast.
While
Neve,
you
how true
are
is this?
insulting me, that does sound like a very good Bloodborne boss, where it's just some kind of gnarled old lady stuck to her wheelchair.
The Lady of Wicca.
People don't know where she ends and the chair begins.
During the week at some point, me and Brian played some Smash, and we were talking about what our pets would be like as Bloodborne characters, and that's a fun game.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Yeah. My dog is a tiny coward, so he's and he always lets people down. So he's a merchant who only shows up at a particular spot 1 in 7 times, and only 50% of the time he shows up, he has the good items, but they're really expensive.
Motherfucker.
Oh, he's Montgomery the Coward. He's an awful creature.
Biscuit the Hedgehog is guarding an underground sewer network, and he's guarding a door that brings you into a more distinct marble sewer kind of area. And all he does is he sleeps, and for the first half of the boss battle you just fight him and he doesn't react, and in the second half he does react, and then when he dies he leaves behind an item, and you find out that he escaped from a hospital and just went to the sewers to spend his final years, and that he was only an optional boss and that you shouldn't have killed him.
Sounds like you're the real monster. Guys, I watched Outlaw Star.
Is that any good still? Because my
Yeah.
memory of that is that it was brilliant, and I
That's
loved
like
it.
that's like 25 years old, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you guys might remember, I think it was last year, I went back and I watched the first like 5 or 6 episodes of Outlaw Star.
Yes.
And my feeling was like it just did not hold up at all.
Yeah, I remember that, and I was disappointed
And
to hear.
that was very disappointing for me. But I have some good news, because I started watching it again because I really used to love this series and I wanted to give it a full shot even if I wasn't going to enjoy it. And actually, it's when you get past those first 5 or 6 episodes that 2 things happen. For one, it starts taking on like the proper like jerks in space scenario where the whole crew's together. They're all kind of fucking assholes in their own way, and that's a lot more fun because it becomes like a lot more episodic. It becomes a lot more, let's go to this weird planet and do this weird thing. And I think like the whole series has much more of a chance to kind of like just explore how fun those characters are. But then it's weird as well because like this is one of the most this show is so much more inconsistent looking than I remember, because I remember it just being beautiful. But then when I watched that first group of episodes, like it was, some of it looked good and some of it was so jank. Like there's some shots of Gene where one of his pupils is tiny and the other is like filling 90% of his skull, and it looks so fucked up.
He has a condition.
Yeah. It just has a dilated pupil.
And that's still true, but my god, when that show looks good, it looks fucking amazing. Like, I think the shit it does with, like, color and how it'll, like, you know, cast scenes in, like, totally different lighting, it's beautiful. Like, it's really, really good. And so, like, I'm happy to say, like, I'm having a really good time with this, and I think it's also a really great show to watch during a quarantine, because it's just about a bunch of fun idiots in space getting into misadventures. And, you know, there's this whole, like focus on it of, like, I guess, like, freedom and adventure and, like, following your dreams. And, like, some of it's kind of corny, some of it's genuinely kind of good. But I think I need that right now. I need a limitless galaxy to escape the confines of my apartment.
Absolutely.
And so I'd say if you're wondering, Neve, I'd totally check it out again. I would give you my Blu-rays, but if we come close to each other, we'll both explode and die, so I can't.
Okay. Well, isn't there this new service that's coming out that's letting people watch 80s and 90s anime for free? Did you guys hear about that?
No, that sounds cool.
Is it the internet?
Yeah.
Kiss anime?
No, it isn't. It's an official thing. I did air quotes there.
Really?
Whoa.
But yeah, seemingly it's a new service that is happening. Let me see if I can find out about it.
That sounds great.
That's a really good gimmick.
Because there's so much stuff, and like there's no way to watch it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Even like and like, oh god, anime needs something like that so badly, because even like even just trying to watch Dorohedoro, I have so much trouble finding like decent rips of those episodes because there's just no one watching it, you know? But Outlaw Star, like, it's great and it's funny and it's just very endearing, and all those characters are great. Aisha is my fave. She's so cool. Any luck with that, Neve?
No, sadly. But I did see something. It wasn't...
Yeah?
Yeah, it definitely exists. I didn't just dream it.
Okay. Good. Brian.
Yes.
Tell us about Lazy Susan.
Okay. Lazy Susan is a movie I watched during the week. I'm watching a lot of movies while I'm working, and I'll just put on kind of very easy to watch movies. And this is a movie that kind of I had on the background, wasn't giving it too much attention, but by the end of it, I was like 100% on board, which is great. I love those kind of films. Do you guys know anything about this movie?
No. I don't know the cast or anything.
Okay, the cast is amazing. But the film is about a woman called Susan who is in not middle America, but kind of like Midwestern America, let's say. Very suburban. There's a lot of Kmarts in it. You know, it's a very simple day-to-day life of a woman. And she is an incredibly lazy woman and very, very destructive around the people in her lives, in her life. And it's just a series of events with her where maybe things are going to go better than expected for her for once. And then, you know, the film has a three-act structure, so obviously things don't go that well, but then maybe it'll be all right in the end. But I'm watching this movie and I'm about 20 minutes in, and there's some stuff I like about it. There's some stuff I don't like. Like, she's really into making collages And so there's animated collage sequences in the film that don't work at all. Like,
oh no, because that's a cute idea.
it's a cute idea, but it just like it's really too on the nose, or it's got like weird sound effects that just don't really mesh with the rest of the film. And
is it like visually, Brian, or is it like a tone thing?
Bit of both. Like, you know how sometimes you'll watch an indie movie and they'll have animated sequences, and you could tell the director had one idea for it, and then they, commissioned the animation, and maybe
they were like, how much does animation cost?
Yeah, and so like and so they got it back, and they were like, okay, we'll just stick it in at this part of the movie and that part of the movie. And like it kind of works at the opening because like it's part of the title sequence where they're naming off all the characters, and it works there. But then they'll kind of use it to like segment like different parts of the film. I don't know, it didn't really work for me. But like the film has some very, very funny like jump cut edits where like two characters will talk, and then all of a sudden it'll be like them having sex hardcore, and I always think that's very funny.
Sex is hilarious.
It's the sex.
It is very
the sex
funny.
is so funny in this movie. Like it's so.
I mean, I've never understood it.
It's so ridiculous, and like this movie kind of feels like a John Waters film, but like a very like nice, less aggressive John Waters film. And it kind of took me about 20 minutes to get into this movie, and I'm watching the movie, and the actor playing Susan looked kind of familiar, and I was like, what's this person been in? And so I paused the movie for a second, and I go to Wikipedia, and I'm like, hang on. Sean Hayes, who plays Jack and Will and Grace, is playing the main character, Susan.
What?
What?
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, wait, is this meant to be...
So he's in drag?
He's in drag. He's playing a biological woman named Susan who's in her late 40s and does not have her life together.
Amazing. That's
Yeah.
really interesting.
And,
And did you cop, like, did you, were you like, oh, it's a male actor in this, or did it have to like hit you?
it hit me. Because Sean Hayes, like, he's a very attractive guy, obviously. Like, and he's fantastic.
He's very slender.
Yeah, he's very slender. But, like, because I mainly know him as Jack, and that's a specific type of character that I associate with him. But the thing is, like, you know how sometimes in Will and Grace, Jack would kind of, like, put on different voices or behave in a different way if he was doing an impression of a woman?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's that as a film.
That's so interesting. Okay, that went from being like, maybe I'll watch that, to yay, Jack.
Yeah, and
Just Jack.
So it turns out then, because like I wasn't really paying attention to the names of the people in the film at the beginning.
I was thinking Will as opposed to Jack. That makes way more sense.
Yes. Where was I? But yeah, like the cast is amazing. It has Jim Rash, who played the Dean in Community. He's in it for a tiny bit. He plays like the love interest in the movie, and he's like way shorter than Sean Hayes. And so it's the whole idea of like a big giant woman and then this like very slender bald man with a handlebar mustache going on dates is very funny. And like they have this really, really like weird relationship, and that leads to a lot of comedic elements. Her rival in the movie is Allison Janney, who played CJ in The West Wing, and then she was in I, Tonya as well.
Oh, cool.
Like the cast is amazing in this film. And
This sounds fun, and it all kind of makes, now that you're describing the characters, your kind of John Waters comment makes so much more sense to me.
yeah, exactly. So like I didn't know what kind of movie it was going to be, but by the end of it, I was like, okay, I get it. This is very funny. I like this film.
Cool.
Good stuff.
Brian, did you ever watch The Comeback?
Oh, with
Lisa Kudrow.
Lisa Kudrow. No, I've never watched it, and it's meant to be great.
I have it all. It's fantastic. It is the most cringe humor thing you've ever seen. Parts of it kill me, but I honestly think it's Lisa Kudrow's best work. It's so good, but I think you'd like it given Lazy Susan.
Cool. Yeah.
And I also found the name of that anime thing, John.
Oh yeah?
It's called Retro Crush, free anime streaming service to showcase classic series and more.
That's a good name.
It's not available yet, but it's coming soon.
Interesting. Let me see these guys.
I think they're going to have kind of a selection of anime and cycle it in and out. So they have like, here's what's going to be available at launch. Devil Lady, Creamy Mammy, Magical Emmy, Persia, the Magical Fairy, Apostle Yumi, the Magical Idol, Cyber 6, Cat's Eye, Blackjack, Galaxy Express 1999.
Fuck yeah.
Or 999. And Space Adventure Cobra.
Wow, yeah, that's some real old school stuff.
That's some aesthetic right there.
Yep. I read the manga for Devil Lady. I've never read Devilman.
I've read the manga for Devilman. It's very funny.
It's cool. Guys, speaking of anime, I watched Brand New Animal. Or at least the 6 episodes that are out.
So this is the Trigger Beastars.
Yes.
Yes, that is exactly what it is. It's the Studio Trigger. It's the script writer of Beastars, but not necessarily the writer of Beastars, just the person who adapted it to television. And the kind of setup is that there's this city called Anima City, I believe, and it's where all the beast people live. And the beast people are like... It's a kind of thing where you're born a beast person and then you can go back and forth between your human form and your beast form. And they are kind of discriminated against in the outside world, but 10 years ago this city was better, like, set up as a haven for them. And it stars this girl who was human but has suddenly turned into a tanuki beast, and she can't transform back. And it's Studio Trigger, and I, for the most part, love everything Studio Trigger does aesthetically. I think it's been a long time now but since I saw a show that like really I really loved from Trigger. Like, honestly, like, really, like, Kill la Kill was about the only thing they did that I got really super into. Like, I loved Kill la Kill. And this show is really, really beautiful. I think the stuff it does with, like, just like its color, like, from scene to scene, there's such a nice progression of color throughout the episodes. Especially like in the first couple of episodes, it's like every scene just has like its own kind of feel, and like the choices are really brave. Like, a lot of the time the city is kind of cast in like sort of subtle pinks and blues, and it's just great. And then it has like a lot of that. It has like some really, really nice, just like classic Studio Trigger animation where the character designs are really simple, but it's like all this loose animation to kind of make up for the kind of lack of line mileage nearly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think the biggest problem with this show is its writing and story. I think the writing is pretty bad for this.
That's a pity.
There's a few little things. Well, it's not really little. I guess 4 episodes into it, I was feeling like just not really anything for the characters. And that's because most of the episodes, the time dedicated, like the time is spent either explaining things about Anima City and the state of like beast people and all that, or just like furthering the plot, which is like, oh, there's bad beast men in Animal City, and they're like doing these things that are bad for like beast kind. With a story like this, it's kind of impossible to write it, especially since like it's written into the story, and not bring up like discrimination. Like, that's a major theme, you know? And so far, like, their handling of it has been so toothless, like just complete, like basically nothing.
I feel like this really sucks that that's such a case with animal stuff, because if you think of Zootopia and how it was so toothless as well.
Yeah, they really missed the point.
Yeah, it's just like, if you're going to try and tell these stories, then do it, kind of thing.
Yeah, and like...
Do like an Animal Farm on it, make it a full allegory.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, this doesn't seem like a show aimed at kids, but even then, like, do you guys remember, like, not even the X-Men comics, the X-Men cartoon?
Yeah.
Do you remember how fucking hard it would lean into that stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Like, as shitty as this says, and yeah, like... I'm a stupid white Irish boy and I don't know anything about anything, but like the first time I started to realize racism was a problem was from the old like 90s X-Men cartoon. And that was, and like, you know, I was just a kid, but like that was important. But then I feel the problem with this is they want to have this like storyline of oppression and discrimination, but they are absolutely unwilling to like like really take it to where it needs to be actually be effective. So I want to give an example of this because I think like this is kind of one of my main problems with the story so far. There's a part where the main girl, she goes to a party with another girl she meets, and this other girl she meets is a like social media influencer, but the social media person is also a beast. Is also I'm just gonna call them a beaster because I can't, because I already watched Beastars, but she's like a beaster, and but she hides the fact that she's like a dolphin. And so then they sneak off to the human city and they go to this like big high society party where she meets like another human social media influencer. And then they're like dancing and having a great time. But then the dolphin influencer gets so like worked up that she transforms into her dolphin form. And then everyone's like, oh, and there's like a moment of tension. But then everyone's like, oh, it's totally fine. That's really great. And then like the other social media influencer like gets up on stage and is like, you know, congratulations to this girl. And she's so brave for putting up with like discrimination and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, there's some ways we could go with this. Then the main girl, who's the Tanuki, she goes into the bathroom for a sec, makes a phone call, I don't fucking remember, and she comes back out, except now the dolphin girl is trapped in the middle of the room in a giant glass pillar filled with water, and she's drowning. And it's like, okay. And then she like goes up to the other girl, the other social media influencer. She's like, what happened? And she's like, oh, well, she's a dolphin, so I thought she needed water. But she's not like being like malevolent or angry about it. She just says it like completely neutrally, and everyone's just watching her drown. And so then the Tanuki girl transforms her arm and punches the pillar of water and frees her, and they both leave the party. But as they're leaving, everyone looks like, all the other guests look really like ashamed of themselves, or like it was an accident, or like they didn't know what was happening. And so like there's no indication of, were they being evil or hateful? Was this an accident? If it was an accident, why didn't they take her out? If it was an accident, why didn't they take her out? And if it wasn't an accident, like, where's the actual discrimination and evil? Because you haven't showed these characters being evil. Like, if they have done anything, the one evil thing they did happened off screen, and you're not like validating that with any of the writing or dialogue. And it was like a scene that I felt could have had some real edge to it, and could have been like, yeah, man, being a beast person fucking sucks in this universe. But it fell so flat, you know? And to me, it's like, if that's how you're gonna treat this stuff, don't even go near it. Like, and it's like, as well, it's kind of, I feel like it's also a little bit disingenuous to have a show about discrimination when like these beast people, they can't hide it. Like, they can't turn being a beast off. And so like there's another element of that that's not working. And
I think there could be interesting stuff you could even do with that, like about how, you know, maybe some beasters can't turn it off, and some kind of have the privilege of being able to turn it off and being able to kind of move through society without
like
the stigma. It's kind
Absolutely.
of, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Like that, they do that a lot in X-Men, like, you know, how Beast is more desperate for a cure in some of the stories because he's, you know, a blue hairy beast, where some of them, like Rogue or Emma Frost, are like beautiful women's. So it's kind of like, well, it doesn't matter the same as it matters to me, because like some of them are like, you know, X-Men pride, and, you know, because this is written into the fabric of X-Men. But John, I'm kind of not surprised after Promare, because Promare, they did the exact same thing where they took a kind of concept about discrimination and differences, and then by the end of the movie, you know, cured them of their differences, and then they were fine to integrate back into society. So it's kind of like they like using these building blocks to tell a story, but don't really do anything with it.
And like the main girl, her Tanuki condition, she keeps referring to it as a disease, and she like wants to cure herself of the disease. I don't know why, because she can turn it off and it gives her superpowers, but she wants to cure herself. And I could see like maybe there's going to be an arc with her where she changes her mind, but even like she'll say it around the other beast people and they won't like be annoyed or anything. They'll just be like, yeah.
Huh.
But what's weird then is that's episode 4 I just described, but then episode 5 happens, and episode 5 is like a show from another, it's like an episode from another entirely different show. Episode 5 is a baseball tournament.
Oh, so this
And
is like the beach episode.
Yeah, and the Tanuki girl joins a baseball team, but it's a baseball league where people can die.
Oh.
You're allowed to kill your opponents, but it's all played up really wacky and for laughs. And that episode, and like I can't be sure, but I think that this is the episode that they're like, okay, Imaishi, here you go. And he just did this with it, because like it's full of Imaishi drawings, and it is that kind of.
The show is directed by Yo
weird...
Yoshinari, the animation director.
Yeah, and he is he's one of my favorite animators. He did a bunch of amazing stuff on Evangelion. He's like legendary for being able to do like big destructive scenes. And there's definitely points where you can feel it, but this specific episode has Imaishi's fingerprints like all over it.
Okay.
And I could be wrong about that. Maybe they just wanted to incorporate more of the Trigger House style. But and this episode, like, it doesn't even go near discrimination stuff or anything. It's just a really wacky episode about a bunch of animals competing in a baseball tournament. And honestly, I think this episode worked way better because it was just like,
it's playing to their strengths.
It is playing to their strengths, and it's not this unbelievably toothless narrative about discrimination. I think people will probably enjoy this show. There's a lot of like very cute anthropomorphic characters in it, but this is one where like I saw the trailers and I do just feel like very disappointed with where it's at, and I don't know if I'm gonna keep going with it. I probably won't, which I hate, because I want Trigger to make good stuff. You know, I want Trigger to do cool things, and I don't think this is it.
Yeah, like for me with Trigger, I think they do music videos with scripts, and usually with a music video, you kind of have like a bit of a narrative, but you as the audience kind of fill in the gaps yourself, because, you know, you're only working with like 3 minutes of a story.
Yeah.
But I just think when they have to like pad it out with actual like flavor text, they can't. So it's all just style and no substance.
It to me feels like a show where they came up with the character designs first, then the world, then the story. And like, you know, watching that next to like Outlaw Star is one thing, because I think Outlaw Star is really, really well done, and it's a show that knows exactly what it is. And then like I've been watching Eizouken as well, hands off my Eizouken.
Yeah.
And
that show's amazing.
God, just every fucking episode of that, it's so funny, it's so insightful. It just I feel like every episode has something so good to say about like creativity. I just watched the episode that was about, I think Sayaka, is that her name, the producer girl?
Oh yeah, her backstory.
And basically like her backstory about why she cares about business and productivity, and oh my God, that is such an amazing show.
It feels like such a personal thing as well.
Yeah, this is something that like artists and animators made, and it's amazing. Niamh, you have added an item to the docket here called cheerleader stuff, and I've always kind of been in two minds about like getting specific about, I guess, like, you know, kind of sexual stuff and kink stuff, but I feel like if we wanna like just blow it open on this podcast, now's the time. So Niamh, like, you know, just tell us like your history with cheerleader stuff.
No.
Yeah, Niamh, bring it on.
Bring It On does not hold up as a movie, for one, but for two, I think cheerleader stuff is a really good avenue for really intense girl drama stories. Let's leave it like that, because it's basically like
I'm not sure I'm understanding the euphemism here.
Girl drama.
There is none. But I've been watching a TV show called Dare Me, and it's about cheerleaders, kind of in the short term, but is more of a murder mystery thriller, but has cheerleading as the kind of backdrop to all of that, and it's really intense and really dark, but I don't know if I like it or if I hate it, so I didn't really know what to say about it. But I think it's made better because before I watched Dare Me, I watched the docu-series on Netflix called Cheer, which follows a cheerleading team trying to get to whatever final thing they're doing. But it's kind of like about how cheerleading is a lot of the way, like it's a lot of young people at the height of their abilities, with nowhere to really go afterwards. You know, it's kind of a time and a moment in their lives, but they can't really take this skill on anywhere. Like, you know, you don't progress like you do with football, like once you finish cheerleading, you know, there's no professional Olympic cheerleading team or something like that, despite them being athletes that are getting their bodies destroyed for it.
Yeah, it's very short term.
Yeah, it's short term, but they put so much into it. And I had a real, you know, and then like a lot of small town infrastructure and financing and, you know, economy and jobs is built around, you know, cheerleader programs in schools. And that was worked in a lot into the Dare Me TV show. So I just thought as companion pieces, they were both really interesting. But I would love if more people watched Dare Me because, I don't know, it's really intense. And I have no one to really talk it out with because I'm not even sure what I need to talk out.
I'll put Michelle on it ASAP.
Yeah. It's sadly it's one of those Netflix shows where it's way too long. It's a 10 episode season and the episodes are 40 minutes, but they're pretty intense and good to get you through. But season 1 ends with a season 2 kind of thing, so it doesn't wrap up, sadly.
Yeah. I watched Cheer. That was I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I thought it was really sad how like the kind of career path that was nearly like the idea, be a cheerleader in high school, get a husband, was nearly like the career path they were presented with. Like it was kind of what the older cheerleader was sort of saying,
yep.
Like as opposed to this is what you should do. Don't go out and drink and do drugs and that kind of stuff. And like, don't drink and do a bunch of drugs all the time. But like, I thought it was weird to see that aspect of it.
It feels really limiting. Like there's a very limited, narrow role that some of these people have set out for them in lives, and that's really scary. And I can see why emotions are amplified to the extremes then if this is kind of like the best moments of your life. Because like I think a lot in American media, there's such a huge focus on high school and being a kind of a young adult. And that is not the same in European media whatsoever. We don't have that like best years of your life was in school in the same degree you see in American media.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the times when you see like adolescence in like European, UK or Irish media, it's much grimmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And that college is like the light at the end of the tunnel, but that you're going to have to suffer through, teenage education.
But Neve, I'm glad this stuff is doing it for you.
Yes.
I'm glad you're enjoying your media. That's all. That's all.
Yeah, scratching that itch.
But yeah, people should check out Cheer. That's a really interesting, intense documentary into a kind of fucked up world. Brian, tell us about Big Time Adolescence.
Yes, Big Time Adolescence is another film from this year that I watched during the week. I put this on as well in the background, and this is one of my favorite genres, it turned out to be, where I love movies about a younger teenage boy who befriends an older young adult man and kind of like...
Neve, cut his mic. Neve, cut his mic right now.
And it's kind of like looking up to someone and you being the protege to them and kind of like looking at their life path and wanting to kind of like copy their life path, but really they're just a cautionary tale. So like there's parts of that in mid-90s, the film from last year, and one of my favorite films, This Is England, does that a lot.
I love This Is England.
Yeah, and so this is the same idea where Big Time Adolescent kind of sets itself up in the first 2 minutes, where it's about a 10, 11-year-old boy and his older teenage sister is going out with a guy who's played by Pete Davidson, who's on Saturday Night Live. He's the guy with the raspy voice. And
we all know him.
Yeah, and he always plays kind of like a scumbag kind of guy who just talks a lot of shit. And this role is perfect for him. Like, he just belongs in this role of just a guy who just talks out his ass all the time. And I don't know if he's acting in this movie or not. He's very, very natural in the role. Let's just say that. And he is fantastic at it. but the main character, the main boy, is brilliant in it too. And so it starts off where his older sister breaks up with this guy, but the preteen boy still befriends this guy. And so he's about 11, and Pete Davidson's character is meant to be about 16, 17 at the beginning of the movie. But then it does a 5-year time skip to now the boy is 16, 17, and then Pete Davidson's character is now in his early 20s, about 23, 24, and they're still friends, and it's about their, like, toxic relationship together. And this whole idea of, like, he kind of follows him around like a lost dog and kind of copies everything he does, talks the way he talks, kind of like takes all his awful advice on board, even though it's not good. And it's kind of a 90-minute film about him realizing this guy that he idolizes isn't actually a good idol, and that he's kind of going to need to mature, and he's going to have to grow up beyond this guy who's kind of just stagnating where he is.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, no,
that sounds good, Brian.
It's a really, really good film. It's really, really funny as well, and it's got a lot of kind of like, you know, teenage drama with a lot of pressures that you have, and it's this whole thing about, like, the main kid can never say no to anyone. He's always trying to, like, impress people, because his whole thing is that he's always looking up to other people, and, like, you know how there's, like, people you know like that, and there's people you want to impress, and you don't know why you want to impress them growing up as a teenager, but, like, you kind of do something normally that's out of your comfort zone just to kind of be accepted by other people. And I think the film does a great job at doing that. Totally. Like, it's very, very relatable. And it's another kind of like... That sounds great.
Yeah,
and it's another one of those kind of like suburban Americas where, like, they're just hanging out in, like, car parks talking shit, and, like, it's supposed to be the best days of their lives, but, like, they're just doing nothing, hanging out. But that's kind of what being a teenager is. Like, a lot of my free time as a teenager was when I had nothing to do, saying I was bored.
Yeah, I remember when I was a teenager, there was this guy who used to hang around with, like, the crowd that I hung around with for a little while, except he was, like, 4 years older than everyone else. And at the time, like, we all thought he was such a cool fucking guy. We were like, this guy rules. And then as we grew up and, like, kind of started to see what he was, there was this real feeling of, like, oh God. And then by the time we reached his age, we were like, imagine hanging out with a bunch of 11-year-olds. And it was weird.
Yeah, it's really, really just that feeling. Like, it totally nails it. I think the ending's a bit weak, but I don't know how you end a film like that very well. But I think around the hour mark is probably, like, the peak of the film. But no, like, it's really good. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely a subgenre of films that I like.
Yeah, I know what you mean, though. I think I like those kind of movies, too. Guys, I watched Fire Walk with Me.
It's a Twin Peaks prequel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually had never watched this before, which... It was like the kind of film that I kept meaning to watch on a Sunday afternoon, but just never did. And so a couple of Saturdays ago, I was really in the mood for just, like, a cozy Twin Peaks time. I wanted a little small town mystery, wanted some intrigue, wanted some spooky elements, and I got that for the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
The first 20 minutes of this movie is just that. Secret agent arrives at a town, bunch of very odd characters. Everyone's a great actor. Everyone is just chewing the scenery. It was such a nice time. And then the film turns into an absolute Lynchian nightmare for, like, 2 hours.
It's a very David Lynch film.
Yeah. This feels like the movie that he put everything that the TV executives were like, absolute David, no. Like, this is that movie. It is horrific and violent and nonsensical and just, like, frightening. Like, it's a scary movie.
It's one of the scariest films I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's so disturbing. I mean, I enjoyed it. Like, it's Twin Peaks and it's cool. There's shit in it that wouldn't make sense for another 25 years until he made season 3, which is so crazy. Like, there are specific plot elements that are, like, willfully obscured in this movie that were later filled in by a TV series that came out 25 years in the future. And, like, not little things, giant things.
The bit where Laura is screaming at something off camera doesn't get explained until season 3.
Yeah. But ultimately, like, it is fun. I think it was more of a intense experience than I wanted.
It's a very upsetting film.
It's such an upsetting movie. I know there's so many episodes of Twin Peaks that are just kind of cozy. Yep. That did not happen here.
Yeah, so during season 2, during kind of like, I'd say a couple episodes into season 2, David Lynch left the project to direct a film called Wild at Heart that stars Nick Cage and your one from Jurassic Park. I always forget her name. Anyway.
Laura Dern.
Laura Dern, yes.
She's been in a lot of his movies.
Yes, she has. And he came back a year later to finish up on the last few episodes of Twin Peaks and saw Agent Dale Cooper was no longer wearing his like FBI suit. He was wearing like jeans and like lumberjack shirts. And he was like, what the fuck happened to this show? And how could you reveal who Laura's killer was? Stuff like that. And so then like a year later, he got the money to make Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me and decided, you know what, fuck it. I'm just gonna, I'll go into the scene by scene gruesome detail of Laura's murder.
Good luck making money off this one's assholes.
Yeah. Apparently, I really like the Wikipedia article for that as well. It says the film was very popular in Japan. For some reason that's included as a sentence, that the film was like a box office success in Japan.
There are scenes from it that remind me of kind of weird, like, Japanese sci-fi ghost movies. Like just very obscured characters fading out of shots and all this kind of stuff. It really
doesn't. Like especially late 90s Japanese horror definitely lends itself to from Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me.
Do you remember that film Pulse, Brian? You weren't crazy about it, but like it has.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's a shared vibe there.
Oh yeah, definitely a collective eeriness in those two films.
Yeah, but yeah, was not expecting a horror film from that. Still though, it was fun and I had a good time. Guys, what say we move into our strategy talk? Okay, guys, I beat World of Horror.
Was it good?
Yeah, good game.
It was really good. I really, really like this game. And actually something I forgot to mention last time, this game's in early access. So like it's still basically in development, and all the kind of flaws and stuff I talked about, they are all still there. They're all still prevalent, but like I could totally see this game getting ironed out in time and like going on to be something like really, really special as opposed to just something really cool with a lot of potential. If you want just like a totally different kind of horror game and just like a really different kind of experience, I really, really recommend people check this out. It's not expensive. I think let me look it up on Steam real quick. But I still want to play it, but I also kind of want to wait to see what the finished version is, that kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's $15 on Steam. And I think that's a really good price for it, because I got a lot of enjoyment out of this, and I played it through a bunch of times, and like it was kind of just about learning the scenarios and learning what I needed to be focusing on in each one, and like really carefully managing your resources. And even then, I just like squeaked past an ending, and it was so satisfying. So it's got a really great aesthetic, and the game itself is actually a lot of fun. So yeah, totally recommend that. Brian. Yes. Tell us about Freedom Planet.
Okay, Freedom Planet. I got this on sale on the Switch, and I think it's a fairly old game. I think it came out in like 2014 originally. It's an indie game that was originally a Sonic mod fan game that became its own thing with original characters. And so it's a fast-paced character platformer 2D inspired Sonic game. And
that's wild.
It's really, really, really fun. I'm really enjoying it. It's really cool to kind of play a game that is 100% a tribute to Sega games and not Nintendo at all. Like, the sprites in this game look like Sega sprites. They do not look like Nintendo sprites. So they've no outline on them. They kind of look like like scale back polygon designs converted to sprites, and it has a lot of like very high speed horizontal scrolling that you would see in like treasure games for Sega systems that you couldn't really do well on the Super Nintendo. So it definitely plays to those strengths, which is cool. And you have two options. You can play the game in adventure mode, or you can play it in classic mode. And if you play in classic mode, you just play the levels. But if you play in adventure mode, it's got cutscenes in between with like full on voice acting and, you know, very, very hammy line deliveries and this whole thing about saving the planet. You play as two characters at the beginning, with a third character you get to take over later on. I think the characters are, it's a dragon, a wildcat, and a dog. Like a basset hound dog.
Nature's best friends.
Yes. And the wildcat can't run that fast, so she has a motorcycle.
Nature's.
And it's really interesting because like I think this was a Kickstarter game back in the early 2010s as well. So this would have been a Kickstarter back in like 2012, 2013. Back then, a lot of Kickstarters were very kind of hokey and not delivering on what they promised. And
for too little money for game development.
Yeah, and so I think because this was already a proof of concept before the Kickstarter...
We're going to build a Metroidvania for $20,000.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you will. You'll build one room. And so with this, I think because they already had the proof of concept and because they're already working off a pre-existing template of it being a Sonic fan game, the Kickstarter was very successful and the final product was above acceptable and a pleasant surprise to the people who didn't know it was a Kickstarter. And this game's always on sale. I'd recommend it if you're curious about it. But yeah, it's really cool just to play a game that is like inspired by games from the 90s, but very specifically Sega games and not Nintendo games.
Because I think sometimes people forget how different the original Sonic games were to Mario. Like, they were both platformers, but they were so, like, the focus was just like entirely separate.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I was playing through a bunch of old Sonic games recently, and one thing I actually found is, like, I always wonder, like, at what point does, like, you know, quick saves and, like, save states, do they kind of ruin a game? And I was making my way through Sonic 2, and I was, like, kind of just save stating through it. And I kind of came away from it feeling like I had sort of robbed myself of that experience, because I think a lot of the appeal of those old Sonic games were, like, you know, you get 3 lives, you die, you go back to the start. And it was like really learning those levels and like learning to blaze through them in a way that was like really cool and stylish. And I felt like I had kind of robbed myself of that by save stating. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, totally. Because like the whole kind of feel of Sonic is momentum. You know, you've learned that level so well that you can like run through it. So
I was also looking up some Sonic speedruns, and they look so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, oh my, like speedruns generally look cool, but like, these speedruns look like how Sonic was nearly meant to be played, you know what I mean? And it's such a feeling of like freedom and fun, and it's awesome. How that element is Freedom Planet, Brian? Like, is it the kind of thing where you want to learn these levels really intricately, or what?
So the levels aren't that kind of tiered the way Sonic levels are. Like, there isn't that much verticality. It's more about the horizontal. But like, okay, so like, it's definitely inspired by Sonic games. But then there's stuff in it that I'd recognize from like the Rise Star game, or from that game where you play as a possum with a sword. I can't remember what it is.
Awesome Possum?
No, it's not Awesome Possum, but it's another one, something night.
the other possum game.
Yeah, like...
I was hoping we were going to get to talk about Awesome Possum, or Radical Rex, or Wild Woody.
None of those are being...
All the guys.
Oh, God, no. Like...
Oh, you're not a Wild Woody fan?
Not anymore.
He's a pencil with attitude, Brian!
I got fucking attitude coming out my ass. I got enough of it. So, like, this is definitely Sonic platformer inspired, but I think it's generally, like, on a more general thing, it's more Sega platform inspired. So, like, there's bits where you...
That's a really interesting distinction.
So, like, there's bits where you have to go fast and you've got to clear, you know, loops and big, you know, winding bits of architecture. But then there's other bits where you kind of have to solve puzzles and you have to go in and out of doors. And so those bits kind of feel like dungeons, like these little side-scrolling dungeons that you might end up in. And so like, I don't know, it's this weird mishmash of like 90s Sega games with the core theme of it being Sonic, but it's not really focused on speed. But there are fast sections to it.
Did it get a sequel?
It's getting a sequel right now, yeah.
Cool. I might check this out. It sounds fun.
It's really good. And like, I really like that it has the two modes where you could play in classic or adventure, because like the voice acting and all the subtext, or well, not the subtext, but like, you know, the actual like background story to the game is either for you or not. But I'm fine with it. I really, really like the character designs as well, because like it kind of does that thing where it'll mash two animals together and tell you that's the animal it is now, and you're like, okay, sure. Doesn't really look like a planet Earth cat, but if that's what... Yeah, because like it takes place on another planet, so it's their version of what is a cat.
Yeah, a freedom planet.
And the bad guy's cool. I really like his design. You know, like it's cool.
Oh, yeah? Cool. I might download that right after this. I'm kind of looking for some other stuff. Neve.
Hello.
You played the Bravely Default 2 demo.
Yes, I did. This is out in this available on the Switch right now. And honestly, the best value for money you could ever get. It's free. And it's like taken me 6 hours to get through.
Neve, this thing kicked my ass.
Isn't it? Yeah, they've made the enemies much tougher in it because they want you to level up all your classes.
Right, okay.
It's so Bravely Default 2 is a direct numbered sequel to Bravely Default, but with different characters. It's kind of like a Final Fantasy, so it's like...
So there was Bravely Default, then there was Bravely Default Second.
No, it was
Bravely
Second.
Bravely Second.
And then the third game
Endslayer
is Bravely Default 2.
Yeah. So if you look at Bravely Second as being the Final Fantasy X2 to Final Fantasy X, and then Bravely Default 2 is, you know, Final Fantasy 11. But not
I get
online.
what you're going for. I think
Bad
that
analogy.
just makes it... I think I understand it better before the analogy.
JRPGs can put whatever they want at the end of their title, and you just have to accept it. They're allowed...
Yeah, so
they're allowed whatever names and numbers they want.
It's true.
Yeah.
So this is a brand new world with brand new characters, but it still uses the Bravely battle system. And the 4 characters are super cute. You got Seth, Gloria, Elvis, and Adele. And
Adele's such a babe.
Elvis.
Adele is super cool. And Elvis is great. He's like a really fake Scottish accent. And the 4 of you are adventuring through the world. And this demo basically puts you in one township with access to a desert plain area and gives you a dungeon to go through with a boss at the end of the dungeon. So to get through all of that, it also gives you 4 classes to play. And one of the cutest things about Bravely ever is everyone has very specific and different class outfits. So if you change from, you know, a mage to a white mage, they all have like adorable little outfits and they all have their own little specific details.
Yeah, like one character will have their hood up and like one will have like a little sash and like, oh, fucking hell, it's so cute.
It's adorable. And like, I really love how the world looks. It's like the characters are like little Play-Doh models in this kind of beautiful 3D world, but then the kind of townships are more hand-drawn feel to them.
The towns are... Well, that one town is so beautiful. Oh my god, when you pull back the camera and see the whole town, it's like a children's storybook illustration in a way that I've never even really seen, even from the other, like, Bravely games.
Yeah, like Bravely games were beautiful anyway. This feels like a real, like, it's the people who made Octopath Traveler, but it's kind of taking a lot of elements from Octopath but pushing them even further and not being tied to the kind of pixel style. So it's like, it's just really visually beautiful. I love the Bravely default combat, and I'll try and explain it. I don't know if I'll make it true, but it's basically a bank or spend kind of system. So it's turn-based combat, it's your go to attack, and you can you can spend 4 goes in one. Does this make sense? Okay, wait. So in your first go, you can decide to take 4 goes, and you can do whatever you want in those 4 goes. Could be attack, could be a potion, could be like a mix of everything. So you can really build up a strategy, like buff yourself, lower the enemy's, defense and attack. Like you can do all of that. But then for the next 4 goes that you have, you can't attack. So you've basically kind of bet against yourself in a way. So if you haven't killed the enemy in those 4 goes, you might have fucked yourself, because now you're all open to attacks and you've no way to heal yourself. So you get
sorry, go on.
So you get that with all 4 characters, but also the enemies can do the exact same too. They can go into their default mode, which is just a kind of a shielded mode, and they can save up a turn. So if they have like a devastating attack and they get to use it twice in a row or 4 times in a row, that can really fuck you over.
Yeah, you can get wiped so easily in this demo, because like the enemies hit hard, and the more I played it, the more I kind of started to understand that like I think what I meant to do is spend all my turns straight away to try and just wipe the enemies, because otherwise they will probably do that to me.
To a degree, I think when you're like going through things, you should do that like just to get through standard battles. But then there's other ones where you don't want to be left there with your arse out, because...
Well, like the boss battles and stuff, right?
Yeah. Like you really have to like work slow with some of those. But the demo is also great, because after you finish the demo and you do your boss fight, the demo is like, hey, you can hang out in this world a little bit more, and you have unlocked a new class, Thief class, and they give you 2 hidden bosses to deal with.
Sweet.
Which are kicking my ass. I managed to beat one of them, the sandworm, but I'm kind of having a bit of trouble with the wood golem right now, but I'll get through it. I know I need to use poison. But
Neve, I struggled to even get to the end of that sand dungeon.
Yeah,
like,
it's a tough one.
Yeah.
So with this game, like, you know how sometimes with JRPGs you kind of go on autopilot, and you're just like, doing the same repetitive like moves over and over. With this, you really need to be on your toes and making decisions there and now, because the enemy has kind of switched up their routine.
Maybe a little. I think this might be demo specific, because I know they made things harder for the demo for you to get more out of it. But like with all RPGs, I spent just an hour going around and farming and leveling up all my classes. Yeah. So, you can really get into a pretty easy state where you're not really thinking about what you're doing, but I was doing it with a boss or a dungeon in mind.
Yeah.
What I'd say to that, Brian, is like, this was a game I turned on while like watching something else, and after like a little bit I was like, oh, I need to pay attention to this.
I gotcha. Yeah. It needs more concentration.
Like you can totally get into a rhythm if you like get used to the kind of enemy setups, like especially in the beginning area, but like once I hit that dungeon, it felt like each encounter was like, I need to think about this or I'm gonna die.
Sweet.
I really, really love the monster design in this.
They're so fun. It kind of reminds me a little of Dragon Quest. Like they're kind of cartoony Toriyama-esque in some of the monster designs.
I think they play around with shapes with the way a lot of Toriyama designs do. I don't think they're as cartoony. Like some of them are kind of like gross looking, but in a really cool way. I think I think some of the designs I saw on this, like some of like just my favorite monster designs ever, at least like from a demo kind of point of view. Like it's just they look so kind of nasty, but they're like little toys as well, and it's so fucking cool. I thought that maybe the character models for the main characters looked a little rougher than they could be.
Like just visually, graphics wise, or
I totally agree with what you're saying about like the kind of the doll look, but I felt like they were like 80% of the way there, and they could just there could be like a little more finesse to those models in a way that I think would make them look so much better. Because I think they looked like just a little rough and slightly uncanny, like a doll that's like 80% of the way turning into a real human.
See, I think the artist of this design specifically really likes thighs and legs. So there's a certain part of some of the
like,
figures.
Yeah, because they're like fleshy little dolls.
Yeah. So there's some parts where it's just like their eyes are just like little dots on a mouth, but then their body might be like at some points a bit overly realistic, and you're like,
It's like when you see like an anime titty character getting an android, and you're like, something's not really clicking here.
Totally. That's the Bravely style that they're really locked into.
I think maybe in previous games it was a bit more pulled back. The characters were a little more like stylized or abstracted, but in this they're like a little more human, and I think it creeps me out a little bit. But like I said, I think in all other departments it's a beautiful game, so I can kind of let it slide.
Just other notes on this. You can play it in Japanese if you don't want the English voice acting. I think the English voice acting is like really interesting. Everyone has a different accent, which is kind of fun.
I think they're having fun with it.
Yeah, because like, you know, there's a lot of RPGs like that you can play where they really default to that Cockney English accent that just fucking drive me nuts. So I'm happy that everyone kind of has their own specific dialect, and that's kind of interesting.
Brian, do a Cockney character to Neve.
All right, mate. Have you got a sword? Because I got a sword.
Answer the man, Neve.
All right, I have a sword too.
All right.
I'll give you as a potion. I don't know how to do it.
I gotta get me sword out, mate, and I gotta give you a right old Rodrin. Let's swashbuckle, mate.
Bravely Default 2, everybody.
Yeah, go download that demo.
Do you think you're gonna pick this one out when it comes out, Neve?
Absolutely. What I was even doing before this demo released is I bought Bravely Second on eBay.
Yeah, she did.
Because you can get the collector's edition for retail price, even though it's like 5 years in the future. And that is a beautiful collector's edition.
Did you already have that game, or did you only play the first?
No, I'd only played the first one. I'd never moved on to the second one, so
I've played through quite a bit of Bravely Default 2, and it's great. It's just a good ass.
I think
RPG.
you mean Bravely Second.
Bravely. Bravely.
We've got to get these names right. Like, it's not confusing at all. I don't know why.
Brian, I'm trying. I haven't been outside in 12 days. Haven't been outside in 12 fucking days. Okay.
All right.
Anyway, if anyone wants a really good art book for the price of a 3DS game, get the Bravely Second End Layer Collector's Edition. Comes with a CD, a beautiful art book, the game, and a little figure.
A compact disc.
Very cute.
Yeah.
Compact disc. Don't know how to play
that.
I
actually got a CD recently, and I tried to put it into my PlayStation 4, and my PlayStation 4 was like, ew, the fuck is this?
Yep.
It's crazy that they don't play CDs.
Yeah, they don't.
But even if you put a DVD in your PlayStation 4 now, it's like, it's dying. The noise it makes is sad.
It's like, it may as well be a videotape.
Guys, I beat Pokemon's Sword and Shield.
The Pocket Men.
Yep. And yeah, I'd say I enjoyed this game pretty much like the whole way through. There was like a few little bummers in it. Like, there's basically one big area in the middle of the game, and that's the wild area, and that's the kind of, I don't want to say open world because it's not really that, but it's basically a giant landmass filled with Pokemon that you can just kind of run around. And I just thought that bit of the game was so fucking cool that I'm really disappointed it didn't integrate into the rest of the game. To me, like, I think you could totally do an open world Pokemon game, and it would be class. Like, I think that would be so good. People were asking about what my team was, and so I'm gonna give a little rundown. We got number 1. We got Cinderace. He's like a little bunny rabbit that's on fire and kicks flaming footballs at people. Number 2, we got Grapple Octs. He's a little luchador octopus, and he's fun. Number 3, we got Grimmsnarl, who's a little goblin who grows his hair really long and can control it and then wraps it around his own arms so the hair becomes his muscles. Number 4, we got Hitmonlee, a classic. He's good at kicking. Number 5, we got Toxtricity, who's like a weird poisonous electric frog that stands on 2 legs. I like him a lot. But my absolute favorite new Pokemon I've encountered is a fairy Pokemon called Shinotic. And I want to link you guys a picture of this thing.
I could just type it in, Shinotic.
I've typed it in. It's this weird mushroom.
Yes. And this thing is really good and really scary.
It looks like an alien.
I want to.
It looks like Mr. Burns coming out of the forest.
Yeah, it does.
But
I
also
bring
a
you
mushroom.
love.
I feel like it looks like that bit in Bloodborne when all the aliens start showing up.
Yeah, it does. It looks like a celestial little fucker.
So here's his Pokedex. Its flickering spores lure its prey in and put them asleep. Once the Pokemon has its prey snoozing, it drains their vitality with its fingertips.
Huh. So it's just nightmarish.
Yeah, it's an absolute hell creature, and I love it. It is very good. I really enjoyed the game, and like it was cool beating it and everything, but there was just some stuff that like really irritated me, especially as the game went on. Like just you're a kid out in this world, and I talked about this a little before, but just adults constantly guiding you to the next location, you know? I nearly think that it nearly feels like they were trying to pull back on the like, you're an 11-year-old and you're going out into the world yourself, that kind of Pokemon sort of is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it feels like maybe they don't think that's a good fit anymore because you're just constantly guided from point A. And it's also one of those like kind of, it has that kind of JRPG trope where everyone's just like, you are fucking amazing. You are so great. Everything you do is great. You're a genius and I love you. And everyone's like that, like including your rivals. And I kind of want my rivals to be assholes,
I really miss the rival from Pokemon Gold and Silver who's he stole a Pokemon from the professor. Like that's so good.
And like they nearly do some good things because your rival in it, Hop, he's like you basically beat him a bunch of times because he's a fucking loser, and then he starts losing to all the gym leaders and then starts losing to other trainers and gets like really depressed, and it's like, oh, this is like more character stuff than I'm used to from Pokemon, and then he just bounces back and it doesn't matter, and it was like, oh, okay. But it's a good game. Like if you like Pokemon, it's a really quality version of them. I guess like I feel like I just see what Pokemon could be if they just stopped being so safe with it. And this game has like steps in that direction, which nearly makes it more frustrating. But ultimately, I do think they kind of pull back on stuff, and it kind of it's disappointing in that regard, but I still had a great time with it, and I blazed through this thing much quicker than I usually do with video games, so I liked it. But yeah, Neve, tell us about Control Foundation.
So I was talking about how when I was playing Control, how I would probably check out the DLC because Control was such an interesting world to be in, and I did. And the Foundation DLC is $14.99 or €24 if you have the season pass. And this is like maybe one of the meatiest DLCs I have played in anything. Like it reminds me of like some of the best Mass Effect DLCs. You get a whole new area, which is the foundation of the oldest house. It has its own aesthetic, which is like beautiful black marble with gold veins in it, with red sand and just white void. And it looks so cool, and it's really nice to be back in that Control world because it's just so unique. Like, I appreciate it at the time, but even just going back and turning on Control again, it just hits you straight away about kind of like how no video game really looks like how Control looks. So it's really nice to go back to it from just even an aesthetic perspective, just to float around in a white void. Like, it's really fun. In the DLC, you're given 2 new powers. They're kind of powers that, solve problems that are in the DLC. Like, I don't know if they'd translate to anything else in the game. You have one which is just a more power behind your gunshots, so you can now like break down giant crystals that were blocking paths that you can now explore other areas. And then another one is to create crystals, so you can make walkways for yourself to get up to higher places, or you can pull up crystals to give yourself some cover from incoming fire, or pull up crystal shards to make spikes, and that will like which will impale enemies and stuff. There's new enemy types. There's hiss snipers, which fucking suck. They are a pain in the ass, but they're there and they're hard and they're there to be beaten.
Yeah,
like
that sounds like a pain.
I don't enjoy them, but I enjoy that I have a new enemy to try and deal with. There's more story content. Like when you are in the oldest house, you kind of learn that there's kind of 2 entities in that space with you. You have the board, which is the triangle that kind of offers you as the director some advice and some guidance. And then there's the former, which is the big eldritch god kind of thing. And in this, they are both trying to give you a power, but telling you not to listen to each other. So there's nice stuff where Jesse kind of just getting annoyed at this. And being like, I hate being torn between you guys. There's just a lot of fun banter. There's more character stuff. And I'm just having a great time with it. It's just a real lot for €15 is kind of what I'm getting at. And if you like Control, it's a fantastic new mission area. If you didn't like Control, I don't think it's anything to change your mind. But as a Control fan, it's probably exactly what you want.
Cool. And this is the first of 2 DLC, right?
Yeah, the next one is AEW, which I think is going to have more tie-ins with maybe Alan Wake.
All right.
AEW.
Yeah, like wrestling.
Yeah. Maybe it's AWE.
Guys, maybe they're planning some stuff.
Yeah, well, like people who like wrestling and people who like Control, like there's a big cross section there.
That Venn diagram is just a circle. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really having a lot of fun with Jessie. She gets a lot of good one-liners in this, and it's been a great time. Like I've really loved it, and well worth the money. I will say, cool. Going back to the Control world, I am not missing how the PlayStation Pro sounds when you play that game.
Sounds like it's going to take off.
Yup, it was very angry and very loud when I first started it up, but it kind of settled into it after a while. But yeah,
I've really noticed that in the last year with my PlayStation Pro. It didn't sound like that with other games, but with 2019 and 2020 games, it is struggling.
People are just squeezing like every ounce of power, I guess.
It's and like on a Pro, it sounds like that. I have no idea what it sounds like on a base machine.
I've heard Control doesn't run great on a base model.
Yeah, I've heard it's unplayable, and that's why we really docked it a lot of points at the end of the year. But like
that, and it's a shit game, Niamh.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not.
I might play the DLC. I'm not in any rush to play it, but I'd like to play it at some point.
Yeah.
Cool. Guys, I've been playing Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Whoa, no way.
Whoa.
You caved.
So this was not a game I really had any interest in or was expecting to get. But basically, Michelle recently got a Switch, and so we were setting up like the one account on 2 Switches so we'd both have access to like both games. And it turns out that it's kind of just a nightmare. Like, there's all these like different hurdles you have to jump over. There's all these like weird kind of barriers to like taking switches away, and like one switch is the primary switch, one switch is the secondary switch, and the secondary switch has to be connected to the internet to play any of the games downloaded to it, and and like we wouldn't be able to play together on stuff, and like it was just a lot of frustration. So I ended up just like getting a second version of Animal Crossing and setting up Michelle on her own account just to avoid all this stuff. So we had a spare version of Animal Crossing, so I was like, I guess I'll give it a go. And I really wasn't expecting to like it very much. Well, because like I like Animal Crossing, but I think like you, Brian, I really burnt out on it. You know, I did that whole Animal Crossing thing twice, once on the GameCube, once on the 3DS, and there was like, the thought of doing it again just didn't really appeal to me. And this one is kind of, it's, in a lot of the ways it's similar to other Animal Crossing games, and then in a lot of the ways it's very different. It feels like there's like a lot of the mechanics and stuff, it's all the same, but the philosophy behind the game has changed a lot. This is much more, you are not moving into a pre-existing town. You are moving into a wild island and you are taming it. Like, you move there and you only move there with 2 villagers. And if I remember right, Brian, usually when you move to an Animal Crossing town, there's at least like 4 or 5
there is.
Villagers already.
It feels like
there.
it's already set up.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like that at all. You get set up in a tent, everyone else is set up in a tent, and from there you have to like harness the island's resources and like build your houses and like the furniture for the houses and your tools and everything. And I'm not a huge fan of crafting systems in games because I didn't really think like I'd be that into it. But I really am. And maybe part of that is like the current situation where Animal Crossing is just a good game to have. But it just strikes me that there's a lot of really interesting kind of clever stuff they've done here. And it feels like they've fleshed out like how a lot of different systems work. Because in classic Animal Crossing, it was like what you were trying to do is you were trying to get bells, and you were trying to get bells to pay off your house. That was the core gameplay loop. So you'd go around, you would like collect your fruit, you'd do some fishing, you'd dig up some fossils. The fossils that you didn't have in your museum, you'd sell, and it all came back to this. But in this, they've introduced like Nook Miles, and Nook Miles is basically like achievements, except each time you do one, you get like a certain number of Nook Miles, and you can buy special items with those Nook Miles. And that adds this like second layer of currency to the game that really, to me, like enhances the loop of it a lot, because even like less profitable activities in Animal Crossing, like say catching bugs, now there's a real point to that.
Yeah,
you know. And then like another thing the Nook Miles can let you do is you can travel to like a kind of mystery island, which is a randomly generated, well, I don't think it's randomly generated, it's a random set of islands you can go to, and sometimes when you go there you'll find just like a lone villager living on these islands, and then you can like, you know, see if you want to bring them back to your island and have them move in. Or then other times it's just weird themed islands, like a tarantula island, which is filled with tarantulas, which are really horrifying. But then other times as well, like weird people, like weird travelers pass through your town. Like Michelle got a visit from this really creepy hippie dog, and he asks you to come back to his island so he can take photos of you.
Sweet, there we go.
And you get to his
That's a normal
island,
thing.
and you should see the photos Michelle took of his house. There's like one room and it's just an empty stone basement. It's so creepy. And this is something I really enjoy about Animal Crossing, because I feel like there's just this like ever so slight like creepy vibe around the edges of it in places. And like it's some of it's like kind of subtle, like how Tom Nook is actually just a fucking monster. But then other of it, like right now there's an Easter event going on, and this Easter bunny visits your village, and he's like horrifying. He doesn't look like the other animals. He looks, I swear to God, he just looks like Robbie the Rabbit from Silent Hill, palette swapped. That's his exact design.
He's in a costume, isn't he?
People seem really upset about this rabbit. Like,
I will explain.
People feel like it has ruined the game and that the furniture's ugly, but I haven't seen any pictures of the furniture, so how ugly is the furniture?
Imagine someone made furniture out of Easter egg packaging.
Yeah, that sounds pretty ugly.
So the reason people are annoyed is because there's like different resources you can gather in this game, like wood. There's like 3 different kinds of wood. There's different kinds of iron. and like stuff like that. But basically, he has gone around your village and hidden eggs in every tree. So before, you might get like a piece of softwood, a piece of hardwood, and a piece of regular wood, all of which can be used to craft different items or build different houses. But now you might get like 2 eggs and a piece of wood, which slows down your progress through the game. I don't think there'd be anything that wrong with it, except the game is still relatively new and most people are still in that like very resource heavy beginning of the game. And
yeah, it's
so
only been out like a little over a week.
Yeah.
So not the best timing for an event like that. The other aspect of it is the bunny's name is Zipper, and he has a zip on his back. All the animals look like they're made out of felt, and it's beautiful. It's a really beautiful game, by the way. Like, it looks class. But this guy has a zip on his back, and he talks about it, and he's like, hey, just don't go near the zip on my back, okay? I'm just a rabbit, all right? That's all there is to it. Let's move on.
Oh, dear.
And it's really weird and unsettling. But I like that they're getting weird with it. I like that Animal Crossing is weird, because I think like it is just an inherently strange series. And on top of that as well, like a lot of the stuff, like a lot of the dialogue from the animals, it's really well written. Like, it's funny and it's strange. And sometimes like the animals are kind of dickheads to you, and I enjoy that a lot. I think it's a really great example of how to do like really interesting dialogue that like could be, you know, a kid's not going to get like weirded out by it or anything, but it's funny and it's cool. One of my favorite characters is Blathers, the owl who runs the museum, and he has like all these little interesting factoids about like any specimen you give him, like fossils or stuff like that. And he gets really annoyed when there's like a misconception around a particular dinosaur, and he'll get really shitty about that I think's really funny. He'll be like, well, some people think this even though they're wrong, and it's like, but he's also terrified of insects. Like, he hates insects, and whenever you bring him an insect, he's like really struggling to deal with it, and he's like, oh, these atrocious little creatures. And it's really, really funny. So it's, and just like little things, like the animals now like do a lot of little stuff. Like, you might go outside and one animal will be outside his house just like pumping some weights, and another might like have a little book on fish and be like looking at the river and looking back at their book and all this kind of stuff. And that stuff is so cute. I do wish they'd do more with the actual villagers themselves, because I feel like a lot of the time the villagers really are just set dressing, and they don't really add a whole lot to the gameplay.
They exist in your world.
And I would love... They exist in your world, and I'd love if they did more with like setting up like little like side quests with them, or, you know, even just setting up like little narratives in your village. You like who robs the pie, or so, you know, just shit like that. Like, they could do little cute little mystery things. I mean, in a perfect world, I'd love like a murder mystery in Animal Crossing. I think that'd be just the coolest thing. They're never going to do that, obviously. But I am having a really, really good time with this game, and I was not expecting to.
Bless you.
Bless you, Niamh.
Sorry, it's the Rona.
Oh my.
No, not allowed.
That's worse than the time he said Stan.
People use the word Stan a lot. Like, it's not just
they
me.
shouldn't.
Yeah, Niamh, Twitter people.
Like teenagers.
John, you too are on Twitter.
That is factually incorrect. It's a really cute game. It's really fun. Again, it's like another thing that if people need some relief right now, I think it's a really good version of that. My best friend is called Drago, and he's a dragon, and we do weights together.
I've been so on the fence with Animal Crossing. Like, all of this happened, and then the 2 games that come out are Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing, and I am not for either of them, but I had to wait 2 more weeks to get the game I wanted to come out. So I was just there going, should I get Animal Crossing? Will I like Animal Crossing? Should I get Doom Eternal?
I really liked that thing you said on Discord, Niamh, where you're too hard for Animal Crossing, but you're too soft for Doom.
Yeah, it's true.
I have no idea if you'd like this game, Niamh. There are so many elements of this game that are so specifically Niamh, and there are so many parts of it that I think would really piss you off.
I really like the idea that you can make clothes in it. People have been really doing nice stuff with just kind of making patterns and things, and it's really cool.
Did you guys see the photographer, the like professional photographer who did a bunch of just really nice photographs in it?
They're amazing.
So cool. I think you'd appreciate parts of it, Niamh. But I don't know. What do you think, Brian? Like, I feel like she could get really into it, or just be like, "Fuck this," and it's going to be.
I think
one or the
everyone
other.
has their one Animal Crossing that they got super into. Like, I'm not participating in this game. I'm burnt out after 3 other games. I've been playing Animal Crossing for like more than 15 years. I'm not interested in another one.
See, that's where I was until I played it, which is... And, like, I do get the sentiment, like, you're just not excited to play it, but it does do a good job of reinventing.
Yeah, like, I played the GameCube one, the DS one, and the 3DS one all very intensely.
Okay.
This would be my 4th one, and I don't have enough energy for a 4th one. But I do think the initial feeling of a first time playing Animal Crossing is fantastic.
Yeah, I would say this is the most I've ever enjoyed the series. But yeah, Niamh, I'm sorry I can't be of any use at all in your deciding whether you would like it or not.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brian, talk to me about Resident Evil 5.
Can I? Yeah, okay, yeah. I'll talk about Resident Evil 5 first. I was waiting for Resident Evil 3 and I started playing Resident Evil 5. I got it on sale on the Switch as well. And I'd recently beaten Resident Evil 4 and I knew that I was going to play Resident Evil 5 next. I didn't know how soon it was going to be, but due to recent events, it was sooner than expected. And the last time I played this was in 2009 and I bought an Xbox 360 just to play Resident Evil 5. And I bought a copy of Resident Evil 5 that had a second controller for an extra tenner, which I thought was very good. And
He remembers the deal.
It's a good deal.
I love how we always hear about Brian's deals.
And I love Resident Evil 4. It's one of my favorite games ever. And Resident Evil 5 is a flawed gem.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so some stuff I really, really like about the Switch version is that you've got loads of different like control choices. So I'm playing the controls Resident Evil 4 style. So I'm playing Chris in the way I'd play Leon. And so that's much better because the default controls aren't the best, or they're slightly different to what I was just used to, and I'd rather just kind of make it feel as much like Resident Evil 4 as possible. This is a fairly decent port of Resident Evil 5 for the Switch. The lighting and modeling and texturing is all good. The shading isn't very good. A lot of cast shadows have no gradient or like blending on them. They're all just jaggy. And sometimes you'll kind of walk into an area and the shadows will pop in a few moments later. And I think the first hour or two of that game, the first 2 chapters are kind of weak. I think it isn't until about chapter 3 where you're in the marshlands and it's just full on Africa and Albert Wesker gets reintroduced. That's when it starts getting silly. And Albert Wesker is amazing in this game. Like, he's so fucking funny. And I just think like he is as strong as some of the like best bits of Resident Evil 4.
Totally. I think Resident Evil 5 has one of the best boss fights with Wesker just in the entire series.
And
it's
like,
one of the best boss fights.
I really love any cutscene where it'll be him and like a woman and she'll be like, maybe me and you should team up. And he's like, no, I only have my mind on Chris. He's obsessed with Chris, and like Chris in turn is obsessed with him. And like Chris and Sheva's relationship, so Sheva's your partner in the game, she's fine. It seems like they kind of hate each other.
I wouldn't say hate, but they've just been thrown together kind of thing. They get more pally as it kind of goes on, but like it is really just like, it's kind of like Chris being like, my partner's missing and I can never accept you as my new partner. And then she's like, okay.
But like, you know how their dialogue of like, she'll be like, I need ammo, or he'll be like, take this. It's like whatever line they have, it just sounds kind of condescending to each other when they say it. They sound.
Oh, I think when you have to input that yourself. Like if you're playing with someone else, it comes across so much nicer. It's like, thanks. And you're like, cool.
as well at the beginning, you have the choice to like put on alternate costumes. So I have Chris set up Mad Max style with the nipples out, and then Shiva.
Oh no!
It suits him. He's just full on beefcake, and then.
Why are you opposed to that, Neve?
I think Chris's alternative outfit is good. I think Sheva's alternative outfits are terrible.
So I've Sheva dressed up as a businesswoman, and she's just wearing a pencil skirt and glasses.
No, her normal outfit's pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's fine,
though.
but I just wanted her to look like a professional, and then Chris to just look like a big rock-smashing maniac, which is what he is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. I remember being kind of underwhelmed at certain gameplay parts of it when I first played it. The inventory system's a bit cumbersome, but you get used to it. You kind of use Sheva as like an extra suitcase. You kind of give her all the crappy items, and you kind of like switch in and out via her. Her AI is okay. Sometimes it's a bit like she'll get stuck on something and she'll be like, I'm coming, but she'll just be running on the spot. But I don't have anyone to do co-op with, but I remember I played it originally in co-op, and it like the co-op is fantastic.
I co-op
Yeah?
with you if you want to play less Smash.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want. If I can get it cheap enough.
It's always on sale.
Oh, you beat it though.
I'm
haven't
very
you?
near the end, but I'd probably play it again
Okay.
in the near future.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, it's definitely.
I remember really enjoying the Jill boss fight from the end of that.
So Jill's just been reintroduced.
Like, I remember it seemed like a boss fight that, like, a lot of work had gone into, and there was a lot of, like, weird custom like, Quicktime events and stuff in it. I thought that was really cool.
Just before you kind of, like, it reveals Jill and Wesker, you've got to fight this, like, businessman called Irving, and he's just, like, the sleaziest guy with the worst, like Bobcat Goldthwait voice, where it's just like, I'm gonna get you.
Oh, I remember him. Oh my god,
he's
yeah.
so fucking cheesy, but he's so funny, and he turns.
Brian, doesn't he look like the guy from Stranger Things?
But like,
it always.
But
makes
he just
me
has
laugh.
such a fucking weird like jawline, and the way his like his gums are always visible when he's like talking, because he's got like this really weird mouth. I know, he's such a weird design.
He's
evil.
evil.
Like he's so like, but like he's so cartoony, grunty evil. Like
you can tell by his face. It's pointy.
But then Wesker just looks like a Matrix character, and it's perfect. And I really, really, really like the flashback cutscene where it's Chris and Jill in just some castle on a mountain, and they arrive at the castle to talk to an old man, but Wesker's just killed him. And then they fight Wesker, and he's just like bullet timing in and out of their shots. And then like Jill jumps at him and throws both of them out a window.
Did you ever play the DLC for that?
No,
Brian?
and I'm probably gonna now.
Okay,
yeah, it should be bundled.
I'll play.
Yeah.
I'll play the DLC
Okay.
with you. That's some fun
cool.
stuff.
Yeah.
So pretty
Yeah,
positive.
no. I this game is definitely a product of its time, and that's where it belongs. And it's fun to revisit, but it's one of those games.
Yeah. Real quick, guys, I've been playing Tales of Berseria. I've never played a Tales of game before, and this is my first introduction to the series, and it's like this is some anime shit.
yeah.
Like this is very, very anime. And it really leans into that in a lot of ways. It's like a action RPG as opposed to like turn-based or anything. And I've never really been that into action RPGs. Like, try as I might, I just could not get into like the Xenoblade games. Even though like I think the world of Xenoblade Chronicles was so cool, but I did not like the combat. It just felt like MMO combat, and like why anyone would subject themselves to MMO combat when they lose the actual community aspect of it is beyond me. But the first thing I kind of noticed about this game is like the combat in this actually feels pretty good. Like the animations are really, really nice. There's a real like weight and impact to all the hits, and like it runs at like 60 frames per second, so it all looks really smooth. There's also like a lot more to it than I kind of thought there would be, nearly to like an overwhelming degree. Like, I am many hours into this game at this point, and I'm still getting tutorials about like different sides of combat. Like, there's stuff you can do where you can like initiate stronger enemies to appear in the field, and then you can fight them and they will most likely wipe you, but if you can beat them you can get like much higher gear. And it's like all this stuff, and it's totally one of those JRPGs that just kind of throws so many different like gameplay aspects and style. Like, there's a cooking mini game, there's like a table waiting mini game, there's like send your soldiers off to retrieve items from way back kind of mini game. And it's cool because like there's a lot to do, but I also feel like the way the game tutorializes a lot of that isn't especially effective. Like, for the most part, you get a couple of screens of text, and then it's like, okay, go. And so there's some battle mechanics that took me a long time to get my head around, because it's like this balancing act of like you're storing up basically stamina points, and the more stamina points you have, the more damage enemies do, but also the more actions you can take, and then you can spend those stamina points in like a big flashy move. But then there's a separate bar as well that's like your limit break move. There's a lot going on is what I'm getting at. But I think like the thing that really pulls me into this game is I think the world and characters are really great. There's a lot of thought that gone into like how this world connects. Basically, it's this church. Demons have started appearing, and the church is basically is what protects people. It's like this cross between like a church and like an actual army. And of course, like pretty early on the storyline, you find out that the church is like really fucked up in its own way. I'm gonna give some mild early spoilers here, but like this is the kind of thing where like this is the concept for the game, so like I don't really consider them proper spoilers. But basically, one of the head knights in the church sacrifices your younger brother. You play as this girl called Velvet, and basically in the process you get turned into a demon and spend like 10 years in prison and just become this like very angry main protagonist, but in a way that's not grating. Like, if you look at her design, like you guys should look up the design if you haven't seen it. She is the most edgy fucking design, but her personality is actually fine. Like, she's not irritating or anything. She's pretty cool. And then you start meeting up with like all these other characters, and what's cool is that like they all have really distinctive voices. Like, it doesn't feel like one tone of dialogue the way like a Pokemon would. They all have really defined personalities, and you start seeing them like overlap in all these interesting ways. Like, two of my guys right now, one of them is like a samurai and the other one's just an anime tough guy, and like they like, you know, they get wasted together and they talk about fighting, and they're always like talking about like what would happen if they fought. There's some what I feel unrequited sexual tension in there. It's great. And I think like what I'm kind of digging about this game is honestly just spending time with those characters and kind of watching their interactions and stuff. And like there's one other character is like this little boy, and he has had his personality sealed away by the church to basically become like this walking weapon. And as he joins your party, like he slowly starts to kind of understand what like who he is and what his personality is. And it sounds like kind of cliche in the way like that can kind of happen in a lot of anime, but it's so well done. Like, there's this really cute moments where like another character makes a joke and he laughs at it, and everyone's like, oh, he laughed, like, holy shit, like that's crazy. And I love the little interactions like that, and I think that's where this game is really hitting me. And I don't know when or if I'm ever going to beat it, because it takes me, like, I know this is a really long game and I tend to be very slow going through JRPGs, but it's cool and I like it.
Yeah.
Yay.
I'm looking at the main character here.
The Tales series seems really cool. My girlfriend is very, very into them, and she's been going through all the older
Has she
titles.
played Tales of Symphonia on the GameCube?
I think she's played this one, Tales of Zestiria and Vesperia.
I've only played the GameCube one a very long time ago, and
did you enjoy it, Brian?
Not really, but it just didn't work on a GameCube. I don't know. I think JRPGs run better now with better systems and better feedback based on more contemporary machines. I don't know. I just think JRPGs have gotten better generally.
Yeah, like one of the things I was saying about the combat of this is like there's an inherent lack of jank, which usually if I'm playing like an action RPG, I'm expecting jank, and this is smooth and feels
The main
nice.
character here is called Velvet Crow. That is some name.
Yeah.
She
She's
looks
so
so
edgy.
edgy. She's got underboob. She's got a claw hand. She's got her hair in a ponytail, but then it's like tied up at the bottom.
Yeah,
everything's in
shit.
tatters. She does not look like a happy person.
Yep. No.
Oh dear.
But it's good. I'm having a nice time with it.
Yeah.
Brian, tell us about Kirby's Adventure. We've been
Yeah,
playing
we
a lot
have.
of
It's great.
stuff because we're trapped indoors.
Just real quick, just before Kirby's Adventure, that possum platformer is called Rocket Knight, and it was made by Konami for the Sega. I think one of them was called Sparkster and came out on the Super Nintendo, but it was primarily
Yeah, there's some weird
but it's
lineage
primarily
there.
a Sega game, and Rocket Knight is definitely an inspiration for Freedom Planet. Anyway, Kirby's Adventure. This is the second Kirby game, I think. Came out on the Nintendo Entertainment System. It was one of the last games for the NES/Famicom. And it's what I've played, but I've never beaten. And I decided last week, okay, I'm going to play it to the end and beat it. And you know how Kirby games are generally very simple to play and easy to play. It's like that for the first few worlds, first few levels. But then when you kind of get to the final few stages, it gets really fucking hard. And then the last two boss battles, like, they were nearly impossible until you figure out the exact, like, timing windows to attack them. And I was really surprised to play a hard Kirby game. And I got genuinely invested in playing it. And usually, like, the big thing with me with Kirby, or the big problem I have with Kirby is that some of the more recent games like Star Allies, you definitely feel like you're an autopilot playing them. You know, there's no difficulty to them. There's no bit at the end where you actually have to like lean forward out of your seat and actually like pay attention. But this had that at the end, and so what was kind of like something that was kind of cute and charming at the beginning suddenly became like it was way more of an investment. And it kind of goes full on Eldritch Horror. This is the first Kirby game where you fight King DDD, but then it turns out he's not actually the bad guy, and he was protecting you from something way worse. And then you kind of go into space, and you go into
really
space
cool.
and you fight a cosmic horror called Nightmare, who's trying to destroy Dreamland and turn it into Nightmare Land. And some of the pixel animation is amazing, especially for an NES game. Like usually with that, you would have like your very basic sprite templates, and you wouldn't have any special poses or kind of like funny reactions from characters. But this at the very end has like funny reactions, and it has like cutscenes where you're not in control of the character, but they're kind of like walking around the horizontal plane doing like, you know, their own little dance or kind of interacting with each other, and it's really funny.
Brian,
Yeah, no, I was really impressed with this game because like I wasn't expecting much, but I it's a good Kirby game, and it was just one I never beat, and I'd been meaning to go back and actually
Now's the time.
Yeah, I'm doing that a lot right now, and there's something very satisfying about it. You know, there's so many of those games where you're like, this is cool, now to move on immediately.
For sure.
And I think I've got some stuff lined up this evening that I'm just kind of really looking forward to getting back to. I want to beat that No More Heroes game in Luigi's Mansion. And
Fuck yeah.
Stuff. But guys, Resident Evil 3 came out.
It sure did.
You are both playing it.
I'm fairly deep into this game.
How's it going?
I like it.
Yeah. I'm a little torn, I think. I have a lot of stuff I love about it, and some stuff I'm kind of disappointed by.
It's a full price game, and it's not.
Yeah.
I will say, like, the general reaction I've heard from people is much more muted than I was expecting.
Yeah, a little mixed, and I kind of saw those reviews and kind of those before I got a chance to play it, and I was kind of like, some of the criticisms seem like, you know, like people saying it was short, and I was just like, well, Resident Evil games are kind of short. But now that I'm playing it, yeah, that criticism is important. But I don't want to. I want to start off dumping on it or anything, because I'm having a great time. So I'm kind of gonna do all my positives first, and then maybe we can touch on the negatives.
Take us on a journey.
Okay, so Brian very luckily got his copy.
I started playing
early,
it Thursday night.
which I was like mad jelly.
I played 3 hours of it Thursday night, and the time flew by.
So I got it Friday release day, and starting up this game, I was delighted. The intro sequence to this is so beautifully corny. Just live action FMV footage of people in white lab coats with the umbrella sign behind them. There's like footage of riots happening, and it's so super corny in a way that I love from Resident Evil.
It's such bullshit propaganda as well of them like making Nemesis and thinking it's a good thing, and it's great.
Let's make this massive enemy to humanity.
Yeah, it's just like it has a really good end kind of bit where the logo comes up and like Nemesis is there. And then you start off as Jill in her apartment, and it has a nice, like, it opens in first person, so you play a little bit in first person, which was interesting to do.
Yeah, that was great.
And then you're basically straight into it.
Sure are.
It's kind of wild.
It's full on Terminator Sarah Connor from the get-go.
Yeah. You were given a lot of, like, this isn't, like, 2 was very slow and methodical. With 3, you were given weapons very quickly. Like, where it starts after the opening segment is basically where the demo begins.
It's really different from the demo as well.
And yeah. They have a lot of items moved around and a lot of different stuff in it. But you are straight into that world with shit exploding and zombies running everywhere, and you having to dodge out of your way. You have your quick dodge, which is super brilliant. Cool. I love how Jill feels more mobile just in general. It honestly kind of reminds me a little of Resident Evil 5, because she's kind of laden down with loads of guns. Yeah. And you're kind of going through the world just shooting shit and kind of navigating it. And the zombie placement, there's just so much zombies, so you're kind of going to town on them and getting through that world. Brian, give me some good points here.
I think Nemesis, they pace it out very well in that it seems like each area takes about 30 minutes to kind of complete, and then you're brought into another area. And I really, really like that. It's very digestible. Nemesis isn't in every area, or maybe it'll be that you'll explore an area and then they'll introduce Nemesis to it at that point when you've kind of learned the layout of the area. Because I think exploring a new area while him chasing you is a bit too much of an ask. I think it's better to learn the map and then have him chase you. And so they balance that super well. And I'm really, really enjoying Nemesis, because my one gripe with Mr. X is that as soon as you see Mr. X, there's no point shooting at him because it's a waste of ammo, because it won't do anything until the last boss battle anyway. So all you do is run. But with Nemesis, if you run away from him, he'll just leapfrog ahead of you. And so you have no choice but to actually take on him and throw a grenade, or later on when you get like the grenade launcher, actually down him. But then there's usually a reward, not every time, but there is an incentive, because he'll drop a briefcase and it'll be an upgrade for one of your guns.
I think that's such a smart design choice. Like, I think it's really interesting that they encourage you to interact with like that element of the game, and
it really pushes your relationship with Jill and Nemesis, because like Nemesis fucking hates Jill, but Jill in return hates him right the fuck back. And like it's
there's some really good one-liners.
There's one bit where she's on a bridge and she says this line, and it's
yes,
that's one of the
what is it?
So good. So Nemesis is on fire, and there's a really funny scene where he kind of ambles out, and he's like, rah, rah, rah. Then like he flips over an edge into water, and she's just like, "Bitch can't even swim."
That's fucking great. That's
like
wow,
Jill
okay.
is that. This is the best Jill's ever been.
Yeah, Jill is great.
I'm a big fan of her.
I love all the character writing in it. Like, I like Carlos as well. Like, he's kind of a flirty, cheeky chappy, but not in a way that's gross. Like, in a way that they're playing off each other. Like, they're both well able.
I really like how he
other
looks like a young Keanu Reeves as well, but like with like fuller lips. I don't know. He looks amazing. He's very sexy.
His hair.
I love his hair. I
like his hair. I like it's all tously. Yeah.
Oh,
it
looks like weird 360 hair.
Oh no, it doesn't. It's really shaggy.
Yeah. Oh, he's great.
I like he looks. He's a very attractive man. I think his hair is like janky.
And so like,
especially compared to everything else. Sorry,
just with Nemesis, some of the sections with Nemesis are scripted, where you're kind of going through a tunneled environment, and then other ones are procedural, where you've got like a cheese box kind of thing, where you've got multiple pathways and you can zip in and around of him, and they're balanced pretty well as well too. And each time you meet Nemesis, he has a new weapon or he has a new form, but they keep kind of pushing Nemesis,
That's cool.
which I think is great. And like it is just, he is relentless.
Yeah, he's really relentless. I really love his second form. I think he looks really cute. He's like
and he's just galloping around the walls. That's such a good boss fight.
Yeah. It's such a good boss fight. It was enjoyable.
I did like I've just played the demo of this, but I did like how they did kind of up the intensity with Nemesis. Like, he really did, at least from what I played, he did not feel like Mr. X.
Oh no, definitely not.
Oh, no, not at all. Mr. X feels like a weird person now. You know, he feels less monstrous next to what a monster that Nemesis is.
He's a full-on beast. He's just... He is no longer human. The one kind of gripe I have with it is the reuse in the game. It kind of makes it feel like the game is more DLC than a full-price game.
Yes, I feel like that too. It feels like an action-orientated DLC.
But just like the same location, stuff like that. And like I get it that it's on the same night, and I do actually like some of the reuse. I thought that was kind of interesting, that it's kind of like you're seeing places you've been to, but from a different perspective, and kind of explain some things.
Yeah.
And you explain like how certain characters got bitten and why that shutter was pulled down, things like that. And they don't overstay their welcome, and Carlos does a very good job at, critiquing the doors, like certain puzzles that needed to be solved. I really like all that stuff, but at the same time, it does feel kind of like cheap.
Because if this game was longer, I think I'd be super okay with it. But because it's so short, and there's so much reuse, like the first time you play as Carlos, you're basically going through the police station again. But all the cool stuff from the police station from Resident Evil 2, like the puzzles, they literally just have a white cloth thrown over them. Like, there isn't really anything to interact with in the environment other than you kind of being like, oh, that was a thing that I didn't do. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. Or that's how that wall got destroyed.
Definitely for that bit, it's very linear. But then afterwards, you get to the hospital. With the hospital, you've got like 2 or 3 different like rooms you can explore at whichever choice you want, and I like that kind of stuff again.
Yeah. I feel there's no puzzles
none,
in this game,
and I wish there was. Like,
none.
So far, the only puzzle I've done is the subway networking thing at the very beginning, and that's the only time you've been brought to like a screen that isn't like, the main game where you have to like arrange things in a certain order to advance the game. Like there aren't puzzles really.
And that's something I'm missing. Like, I really like the puzzle element of it, and even a puzzle that was in Ori 2 kind of comes back, but then doesn't. Like, Carlos needs to get something from the locked room in the police station, where the missing number keys are. But instead of you needing to get a number key, it doesn't even, like, it just shows you which ones you can open because it highlights the items. So you're like, oh, okay, 107, 108, you know? So they didn't even do a repeat puzzle.
No,
there's just none.
Actually, one thing I like that's a new addition is the knife is a permanent weapon now. Before, the previous game, the knife was only used if you were, like, attacked and you were in that attack animation, and then you could, like, press a button and take out the knife and stab him in the neck. But the way... Yeah, and had a durability. It was like 2 or 3 goes. But with the knife now, it's always in your inventory. And so the way I play the game is I'll headshot a zombie 3 times. And then I'll do... So for me, it's bangy, bangy, stabby, stabby. And I do that with every...
Those rules, words to live by, Brian.
Absolutely,
I do
100%.
that every time I encounter a zombie. Because what always happens is when you walk over a zombie 5 minutes later, they always have like one last attack. But... If you stab them, they won't do that.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's really fun to be in this world and play as Jill, who's super cool, and to interact with these characters and to get all this weaponry. But it does feel kind of the love and care that kind of went into RE2 make doesn't seem. It seems present in some aspects, but not present in other aspects.
It's definitely riding on the coattails of the previous game.
Yeah. Like, if this was €30 DLC for 2, I'd be like, this is amazing, you know? But as a full €60 game, like, I can absolutely understand now why Resistance was bundled in with this, because without that, it's really not a value proposition.
Yeah, for sure.
At all.
I tried a bit of the online. You're just basically like it's the cast of Riverdale trying to escape zombies, and you plant traps on them. Like, the main lad looks like Archie. He's got the fucking like varsity jacket and everything. It's very funny. And like, to me, that whole bit and the dialogue and that really feels like 2009 Resident Evil.
Yeah, there's something about this Resident Evil 3 remake that makes it feel more corny. Like, it feels closer to 4 and 5 to me than 2 did. Like, I guess it's because it's more action orientated as well. Like, Jill just... You get, like, gone is the tension of kind of Resident Evil 2, where you're kind of slowly... Like, I felt like I was always surviving or on the edge of surviving. But with Resident Evil 3, I feel like I'm getting loads of weapons really fast and ammo pouches, like, for my inventory really fast. Like, it doesn't want to... It doesn't want you to not be moving forward and shooting the shit out of stuff.
Yeah, like, for me, I always
times.
have, like, 3 or 4 health boosts and a shit ton of ammo.
Yeah. Me too.
I feel like every time I found especially like the item expansion slots in Resident Evil 2, there was very much a feeling of like, oh, thank God. And
yeah,
that was
same.
Good, you know?
Yeah,
and
like,
so
I got one for Carlos in Resident Evil 3 just a few hours ago, and I was just like, I don't even have enough items for this. Like, it didn't feel like I needed it, you know, at that particular moment.
That's
where
wild.
Where Resident Evil 2 was like, oh shit, fine, like, this is so good that I have this. With this, it feels like they could have just given you a big inventory to start with.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Mm. But yeah, I know it's really good. I'll probably beat it over the weekend, and I can't trade it in or anything because you can't. So I'll just hang on to it for a bit.
Yeah,
I guess I feel a bit weird because, like, I've been really waiting for this game, and I'm really enjoying it on one hand, but on the other hand, I feel like I don't have the same strong, this is doing interesting stuff in the same way I did about 2. I feel like this is like I feel like if it was DLC, maybe I'd feel more hype about it. Like, I don't think me saying people should buy this is a good idea at 60.
No, because this is going to price drop so quick
Euro.
As well.
Do you maybe feel like this came out a little over a year after
14
2,
months.
and you maybe think there was an element where, like, Capcom wanted to they wanted to hit that, like they wanted to follow up on that as quickly as possible.
Maybe. I think these were made alongside each other. I feel like these could have been bundled in with each other.
It could have been, it could have been like you launched the game and you could play 1 or 2 or 3. Like it would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you would unlock Jill's campaign, like at the end if you like beat the Leons and Claires.
I don't know if you guys saw, but there's a source. There's like a source. An anonymous source that's been right about stuff before with Resident Evil that says that like the next Resident Evil games announcement is literally like just around the corner and that it's going to be a huge departure for the series.
Let's see. Let's do it.
Anything Resident Evil they pull out, I will be there day one. Like, I love the series. I have a lot of fun with it, you know? It's not a case of, you know, it has its bad titles in it, but I never hate them so much that I wouldn't play them.
With this game, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm really not looking forward to it ending because it's so good in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's exactly how I feel. It's like you're having so much fun, but then in the back of my mind, it was like, this is 5 hours long. Am I halfway through it now? Am I 3/4 of the way through it?
I know. Like, I might beat it tonight, I might beat it tomorrow night, but it's gonna get beat soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, especially with Resident Evil 2 Remake, like you had those alternate paths as well.
Then this time
so
there
this
isn't.
This is really quite a bit shorter than like maybe this has some alternate paths. I don't know, but yeah.
I don't think so. Like, there's a harder difficulty to play it through, and I think honestly the way how generous they're being with items and just everything, I think it might be worth going through it again, you know, for that. And because it's so short, it will be just like fun to like burn through that.
I'm playing on standard and it's very easy. I've barely died. I think the only bit I died at really was the spider fight, where the bit we have to go through the spiders, because that bit is just a pain in the ass.
Yes. Oh, I want to talk about that for a second. I absolutely hate the animation of Jill and the parasite. It's so gross. It's so gross and obnoxious. It was so unnecessary. A big spider comes down on her and he basically sticks something big and long down her throat for a very excessive amount of time. And then you have to go through an area where if a spider grabs you, that's what you have to do. And then you have to eat a green herb to puke up your parasites. It's gross. Like, it's like Tomb Raider reboot dead animation.
There are bits of this game that remind me of the Tomb Raider reboot. Like, there's a lot of just like people I guess Jill being smashed through walls or falling off buildings and her tumbling and like screaming and just like dusting herself off and then it happening right away again.
Yeah, she really gets thrown around, and I think like in Resident Evil 2, like they had like death animations, but it was really like, oh no, you're being eaten by a zombie. The death animations in 3 are a bit over the top in a way I don't enjoy. Like, it doesn't make me like, I don't know what emotion I'm meant to feel from them, you know, other than
like it's pretty gross again, the first time you see it, but like that spider bit, like I died about 3 or 4 times, and I did not enjoy seeing that animation. Like, it was just because it goes on for like 10 seconds. It's just a pain in the ass. Yep. I'd rather just a beheading and it's just like it has the thing come up right away.
Yeah,
I mean,
same.
That beheading from 4, like, that's still one of the most fucking just iconic ways you can die in a video game, and it's so just like you're so dead, and I think that's really cool. Like, just that, like, but yeah, if it kind of. Yeah, that doesn't sound great. I'm glad you're just having a good time with it. I definitely think I was coming into this podcast expecting you'd both be maybe a bit more.
I really like the good parts of this game, but unfortunately there's some glaring problems.
Yeah.
Same.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm sure this won't be the last time we talk about it.
No.
Yeah. Okay. And with that, it's Quicktime Events. Chicken goujons dipped in sweet chili sauce.
Oh, that's a fat boy. Chicky googe. You gouging it up?
We're big into chicky googe around here.
Gouging it up? And that sweet chili dip.
Makes it. Fucking makes it.
What is your favorite condiment and why?
Tomato sauce.
I go back and
Tomato sauce. I like barbecue sauce.
I go back and forth between sweet chili and sriracha.
Sriracha's a bit too spicy for me. I like it at the start and then not at the end. I like sriracha mixed with ketchup.
Oh, I'm going to try that.
It's a spicy ketchup. It's good stuff.
Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Resident Evil 3 / Final Fantasy VII Remake physical copy delays and early shipping.
Sure is.
So there was like basically Capcom and Square put out on their Twitter and just general release that there is going to probably be delays with physical copies, but also they're shipping them out early in Europe because of this. So people have gotten copies of Final Fantasy VII and Resident Evil 3 a little early, but other people might have to wait for physical copies.
Yeah, it's definitely worked in some people's favor and not in others. And then I know with the digital release, that's staying to those Fridays.
Yeah. And under every like tweet that Square makes, it'll be people being like, release it digitally now. The copies are out in the world. Just do it. It's like,
same thing was happening.
That's not how that works.
Yeah, the same thing was happening with Animal Crossing 2 weeks ago. That people wanted it like 2 or 3 days early, just because they were like so excited for the game and they just had lost their patience. It's just gamers being gamers.
Gamers be gamers. That's our new t-shirt.
Yeah. While we're on Resident Evil 3, did you see the uproar about Jill's skirt?
Oh yeah, her skirt.
What did they do now? What did they do now?
Well, John, that skirt may look perfectly like a skirt, but it's actually a skort.
How dare they?
How dare.
People ask why I didn't buy this fucking game. There's your answer.
It's so funny that some of the comments on this, like, these people are weird and annoying, but some of the comments are so hilarious. Like, one of them was just like, I've bought the PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is it. I'm not buying 5 because of Square and their censorship. And it's like you've given them so much money.
I saw another one where he was like, this is false advertising. We should get together and do a class action lawsuit.
Oh God, it even says like inspired by. And also you're sad because you can't get a panty shot, you fucking weirdo.
So all I'm going to say is you both laughed at me when I was annoyed about the outfit change. And look where we are now. Who's laughing now?
Us still, not you, John.
Yeah, but you have a lot more, like, weird babies who are upset with you.
Yeah.
But, like, that's so disrespectful to the original outfit. Like, how dare they?
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you know, where... These shorts are cool. Why are people...
Also, from a 90s
shorts.
fashion perspective, skirts were in and so were culottes and stuff like that. So it would make more sense for her to wear it.
You can still see her fucking butt. I don't know. Whatever. But yeah, no, I am outraged.
Her butt's in the game loads anyway. She's always crawling around.
It's the final straw. Like, it's the final straw. Like, this was the reason that I just banned this game. I cancelled Resident Evil 3 and now everyone can see why. And while I once seemed unreasonable, now I've been validated.
You have your people, John.
I am a hardcore gamer, you know.
Us gamers gotta stick together.
Us gamers gotta stick together, and when the corporations try and take what's important, that's when I rise up and I become the symbol the people need. NieR Replicant version 1.224744871139.
Wow.
So for a brief moment, one of the mornings, everything was beautiful. NieR fans got what they wanted, which is a HD remaster of the original NieR.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I think kind of the speaking on behalf of the NieR fan base, after the disappointment of Automata, a lot of people just don't really have a lot of faith in the series anymore. And I think something like this has done a lot to lift up the NieR community spirits, and it means a lot.
Sure.
Neve, I think you should do the talking for a bit.
So this is going to be NieR. There's 2 versions of NieR. In Japan, 2 versions were released. It was Gestalt, which features Dad NieR, and what is the other one? Why am I blanking?
No.
Replicant.
Yeah, Replicant.
It is, yeah.
Starring
it's
Brother
written
NieR.
right there. And Replicant is Brother NieR. And originally in Japan, Xbox, Father NieR was an Xbox exclusive, and PlayStation 3 got Brother NieR. In the West, we only ever had the game NieR, which was Dad NieR. So we've never played Replicant Brother NieR.
No.
And now here is our HD version where we will finally get to play Brother NieR, which is great. As a NieR fan, I'm excited to play Brother NieR, but also as a Dad NieR fan, I'm a little sad because I like a lot of my nostalgia and my love for original NieR is kind of like it's because of how great a character Dad NieR is.
Totally. Do you get that? Do you feel that weird thing where it's like they made like an older, like muscly dad person for like the Western audience? That's so fucking stupid. But then it's like, yeah, but do you like Dad NieR better? And it's like, well, yeah, no, I do, but it's but I mean, yeah, like I'll play as Brother NieR. I definitely I'm on the same page with you with that, Neve, where like I love Father NieR, and I think to me like he kind of fits in better with like that band of misfits because they all just feel a little out of place, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But having like Brother NieR just be like a young hot guy is kind of like
It kind
he's
of
the normal one.
To me,
now.
it feels a little bit more generic. Like I like the idea.
Yeah.
Like NieR was really about rejection from society and family, and Kaine and Emil are rejected, and then they kind of find this, familial and unconditional love
found families.
from Dad NieR. And I think it's also nice to have just like a person who's older be part of this kind of found family dynamic, and not just like, here's these like, young cool anime protagonists kind of thing. It was really, a lot of it came from me, like a lot of the heart. Like I think there's a moment that I really love where Emil asks NieR if NieR is afraid of him, and NieR is just like, no, and just gives him a hug, and it kind of felt very, oh, this kid needed a parent, And I really like that aspect a lot from it. It also kind of stops like some of the more, I think just in video games, and I'm maybe going off on a tangent here, but in video games, a lot of the, motivations are romantic and heterosexual romance. And I kind of liked in NieR how being this older character, that was kind of removed from the equation. And it was really down to just unconditional love and platonic kind of family and found family kind of stuff. And it I think with NieR Replicant, like a lot of the dialogue is the same, but there's subtle differences in how it's acted and expressed that kind of, Kaine and NieR are kind of a couple kind of thing, or they have feelings for each other. It's more about romance, and then there's also that like, weird brother-sister Japanese crap.
That's really not like that like with Kaine's character specifically, like I really don't need a romantic connection between her and the main character.
No.
Like I think that I think
She
that really
should exist
kind
on
of
her own.
that fucks with Kaine's character a lot. But I guess we'll see. We'll get that localization.
Yeah.
Brian, are you interested in this?
Yeah, I am. I'll definitely give it a go.
Because I could see there being parts of NieR that you're really gonna hate in terms of gameplay.
Yeah, but like if it's a bit like the Earthbound games where you just have a mismatched group of people as your JRPG, well, not JRPG, but like you're a gang. I always like that.
This is maybe my favorite group of like mismatched JRPG characters. They're so good, and the interactions between them are so fun, and it's such a good game. Like I love it.
Yeah, I'm really excited that more people will get to experience this no matter what.
Yeah. And then there's another NieR mobile game.
Yeah, so this is NieR Resurrection, and I don't know, the details on it seem a little slim right now, but it's going to have a global release, and a lot of the artwork kind of makes it look a little like Kaine is involved.
Okay. I mean, sure. I like Kaine. I hope she's doing well.
Me too.
Last of Us Part 2 delayed indefinitely.
Yeah.
And guys, this oh no, fuck that. I have some bad news.
Even worse.
Even worse. Are you both sitting down?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you to emotionally brace yourselves for a moment.
Are you in the right headspace to receive information that could potentially harm you?
Iron Man VR has also been delayed.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, this is worse than any time one of my family pets died. That's terrible. Not Iron Man VR.
Do you want me to
This
read out the Last of Us 2 quote from Naughty
Go for
Dog?
it. Or are you still reeling over the Iron Man VR news?
I take the Last of Us part.
Just give us a couple more seconds.
Okay.
I can't do this bit.
Brian, could you shut up for one moment, please? Could you shut your fucking mouth? Okay, Niamh, go.
Okay. As you've likely just seen, because they released this on the Sony official account first, the
Yes, they
release
did.
of The Last of Us Part 2 has been delayed. We're sure this news is just as disappointing to you as it is to us. We wanted to reach out to all of you in our community and give you a little more information. The good news is, we're nearly done with development of The Last of Us Part 2. We are in the midst of fixing our final bugs. However, even with us finishing the game, we were faced with the reality that due to logistics beyond our control, we couldn't launch The Last of Us Part 2 to our satisfaction. We want to make sure everyone gets to play The Last of Us Part 2 around the same time, ensuring that we're doing everything possible to preserve the best experience for everyone. This meant delaying the game until such a time where we can solve these logistical issues. We are bummed about this decision, but ultimately understand it's what's best and fair to all of our players. We're hoping that this won't be a long delay and will update you as soon as we have new information to share. We wish you all, your families, your friends, the best of health. Thank you for being amazing fans and your continued support. Stay safe, Naughty Dog. So this seems 100% because of the coronavirus.
Yeah. And just that, yeah, global shipping logistics are not there right now. If you're trying to send something to America from Europe, you can't. Vice versa. Sending stuff to Asia, it's just not possible.
So do you think the reason for this is they were worried about physical copy profits and they didn't want to go fully digital with it? Or do you think they were still so much in crunch that the work from home stuff has affected it?
I thought about this a lot, and really, it's hard to say because, like,
I think they
I don't
want
know that much about like Naughty Dog internals, but I imagine they were like it's been a public story how hard they've been crunching, and I bet that momentum was probably lost with the whole kind of work at home thing, which fucked them like it should be. But then I can understand the shipping quality as well. Maybe it was both. I don't know.
I'd say it's more motivated by they want everyone. I think they do want everyone playing this at the same time. They want that buzz. They want all eyes on their game for that launch, and they don't want some people missing out. They just want to sell as many copies at the same time and have it be, you know, a trending hashtag that week.
Yeah, but I imagine it would be anyway, right?
I'm
like
I'm pretty sure a lot of people have switched to digital with a lot of things. But even then,
yeah, and I think
download speeds are kind of fucked with all of this.
Yeah. It could be the crunch as well.
I think it's probably a bit of a boat. It's a bit of a weird one as well. It's just like The Last of Us 2 has just been... Like, is this the third delay?
Yeah.
I'm starting to think it's not real.
It was supposed to be out in March.
Did
it was supposed to be at the end of February.
Did The Last of Us 1 definitely come out?
Yeah, it came out in June 2013.
But there's no way to actually tell, is there?
No.
No, because shops are closed now, and if you go in and ask, they'd be like,
Yeah.
There's no way to prove. Can you prove, dear listener, if you're still listening, can you prove that The Last of Us Part 1 ever actually came out?
Guys, think about it. How many people do you actually know that played that game?
Yeah, like...
I didn't.
Show
You
me.
two didn't.
Show me the curve.
I think there's something. Gearbox profit sharing with employees, except not really.
Oh dear. Here we go.
So this is another expose from Jason Schreier. I wonder why the games industry doesn't just have Jason Schreier assassinated.
Because they'd know it was Randy.
So basically, Gearbox have had this profit sharing scheme with their employees for a long time. The idea being that Gearbox employees get paid below the market standard, but that on the tail end of that, there's a profit sharing scheme that shares around, I think, 40% of the net profits from a game with their employees. And this has been something that Gearbox have been very public about for a long time. On like their kind of recruitment material, they talked about how like people have been able to like pay off their houses with these payments and all that kind of stuff. And for stuff like Borderlands 2, I imagine, yeah, this was probably huge. And Borderlands 3 came out last year. It was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was reported that the game actually sold really, really fucking well after a lot of like misses from Gearbox. You know, you had like your Battleborns and your Colonial Marines, like kind of just pure disasters. This game came out, did gangbusters numbers, but recently, according to this article by Jason Schreier, the profit sharing is... Employees have been told that it's not going to be a substantial amount, and that while the game did sell really well, problems in production cost Gearbox a lot of money, and now their bonuses are going to be drastically reduced. And the CEO, Randy Pitchford, is quoted in the article as saying, if people don't like it, they can leave.
Wow, Randy.
See, I was wondering about that even with, like, say, Borderlands 2. Like, say if you worked on it for a shittier wage, and this isn't to say, like, wages in game development are particularly great anyway, so a shittier wage than usual, and then you leave at some stage, whether for health reasons or for a better job or for multitude of reasons, are you still entitled to that payment?
I don't know the details of that, but I think profit sharing with employees is really good, but not at the cost of a dependable income.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool that at some points, like, people were able to, like, employees were able to make a lot of money off this, and it's amazing that they're able to benefit off the, like, profits of the games they made, but, like, that's a bonus.
Yeah, that should
as in,
be a
like,
bonus.
literally, that's a bonus. Like,
Yeah.
what they're talking about isn't a bonus. Like, it's
Your wages
it's what
being
you're
paid to you later on,
it's,
yeah.
It's just your wage. And, like, it's cool that, like, maybe in the long run, if a game sells, they have the potential to make more money than they would have otherwise. But, like, what about, like, Battleborn? What were the bonuses for Battleborn? And in that case, you just have a bunch of people working for below the industry standard on a game that makes nothing, and you're exploiting your employees. Like, this is bad. This is really bad. And if a game, like, Gearbox, there is nothing Gearbox are going to make in the next 5 years that's going to sell anywhere close to Borderlands 3. And if, like, they can't make a profit off that, what the fuck is going on? And then, like, you had this stuff about, the stuff that came out last year about Randy Pitchford siphoning $10 million away from the company, and then, like, you had a response to that saying, well, no, that money came from the business end of the profit share, not the employee share. Motherfucker, like, who makes that decision? Like, who decides where that money goes? Like, that's not a counter argument.
Yeah,
like that's ridiculous.
Randy Pitchford was, like, dealing with embezzlement claims last year, and then this year it's like, we don't have the profits to pay you guys now. And people have made life decisions and were encouraged to make life decisions based on this as well.
Yeah, they were recruited with this kind of promise, and all I can say, I'm feeling real good about our biggest shit show award from last year.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Like, fuck that company and fuck that guys. Like, that's like way to just absolutely screw your workers. And like, they do not get points for profit sharing if they're not paying their employees properly.
A jerk Magoo.
Jerk Magoo.
Well now, let's not get like crazy, guys.
I'm sorry, I said it. It's out there. If I get cancelled for saying that, well, I'll die on that hill for saying jerk Magoo.
Cool. Join us next week for the Neve and John game extravaganza. Brian, do you have any?
I think me and my core audience are just going to be screaming "jerk Magoo" at you guys because of after
Neve,
what happened.
I'm gonna need you to censor every instance of that.
Will do.
Guys, what so we move into some emails?
I hear birds in the background.
They're my birds. You see, I have to hardwire my Ethernet cable, so I need to have the window open because the Ethernet cable is going out one window and in through another window.
Well, did you know that one time birds were used to deliver mail?
And internet.
And internet. And that now they've made digital birds and they will digitally deliver your messages to us via the internet.
I'm not sure I understand the relevance to this section, Brian.
You don't need to understand anything because computers are here.
If you were to write a note...
That's great, because honestly, I there's so little I understand, like ever.
If you were to give a letter to a bird, what address would you tell them to take it to?
That would be askletsfightaboss@gmail.com. Yes, what? Brian, that is askletsfightaboss@gmail.com.
Sorry, my internet cut out there, and it sounded like you said @gmail.com.
No, it's
never.
Ask Let's Fight a Boss is a different email for a different thing, and we don't need to talk about that.
That's the OnlyFans account. Have we done this bit before? I'm sure we have.
Oh, it's every fucking episode we do this bit. At least now I'm being nice about the emails. I love getting emails.
Yeah, but you're also kind of like pointing to the fact you're being nice about it. And that kind of takes away from.
He was only spicy about it for like maybe 3 episodes.
Yeah,
for maybe 3 fucking years. Are you serious?
Someone asked me like, "Do you actually like the emails?" And I'm like, "No, I do, but it's funny to lean into it." I love our emails. They're amazing. See how unenthusiastic I sound when I say that. I love getting emails. Yeah. They're great. Do you see how hear how genuine I sound? Emails, they're the best part of this podcast. And I'm trying to sound like
don't understand.
And I'm trying to sound really genuine, and I just sound so jaded.
It's your tone. It's fine. I know you. Yeah. We all know you mean it.
Yeah, I just sound mean.
Do we? I don't know that.
Guys, no, I can't do it. I'm always just going to sound sort of pissed off about this part.
Oh, I love emails. It's like my favorite part of the podcast.
See, you sound nice. I love emails.
Like emails.
I love getting emails.
Brian, why don't you pick out an email here?
Oh my god. All right, here's one from Emmett. We got some quickfire questions. Hi guys.
Let's do it.
Hi guys, I work in retail and we are in lockdown. Sadly, I'm stuck in here bored. So, quick questions. Go, go, go. Okay, guys, we got to be quick, okay? If animals could talk, what would be the rudest?
Starfish.
Oh, a beaver.
Seagull. What's the best? Right. Yeah. Okay, what's the best inside joke that you've ever been a part of? John.
This podcast.
This podcast is really good.
When I was around 10 years old, my neighbour made another boy drink a bottle of pee and told him it was lemonade.
Oh! Oh, yeah. Okay, for me, it's my entire relationship with John. It's just been one long con the entire time. Okay, would you rather be able to hold your breath super long or jump super high?
jump super high, surely, right?
No,
contest.
hold my breath really long.
I fucking knew it.
Yeah.
I knew you would be like okay.
Well, I don't like Mario. I don't like platformers.
With just absolutely no applicable advantage
You
at all.
won't drowned.
Neve, you can't even swim.
Oh, like all those times I nearly drowned, which was only once.
We might cut this out, but like, for like practical reasons.
Use your nose, Jesus. How am I teaching you this?
You could probably drink milk better.
You won't have to breathe while your mouth is maybe doing other stuff.
Yeah, I get it. Use your foot.
Yeah. For me, it'd be jumping super high. Okay, work as a dentist or policeman woman.
Dentist.
Dentist.
Policeman woman.
Oh, you fucking pig.
I've always been on the side of authority. What can I say?
Fucking narc. All right.
With a dentist, you could have fun. You could just be like, "Whoa, loads of spiders in here."
What?
You could really fuck with people if you're a dentist. You could be like,
You could really fuck someone up as a dentist.
you like having teeth? Not anymore. Woo! Okay.
I replaced your teeth with dog teeth.
Okay, thoughts and feelings about quiche.
I like it.
I don't want that shit at all. Fuck that. You can have my quiche.
Warm
Neve.
though. People who eat quiche cold are
Oh,
scary.
quiche out of a fridge is the saddest fucking shit ever.
Yeah, heat that shit up.
John, quiche.
I'm mediocre.
Exactly.
Like I feel like if I'm eating a quiche, that reflects some failure in my planning for that day.
Quiche is something ants eat. That's it. Like I've never
Yes.
seen an uncle eat a quiche, but I've seen an aunt eat a quiche. Okay, would you rather have robot arms or robot legs? I'd have robot arms.
Robot legs.
I want robot
Legs,
arms.
Yeah.
You both want legs.
Because I could run really fast with robot legs, but also you wouldn't be able to work out your arms, and biceps are the most fun thing.
That is true.
I like my legs. I wouldn't change them.
Yeah,
so
Brian has
I'd have to
beautiful
go.
legs, so we have to keep those safe. But
Yeah,
now
so
with my robot legs, I'll be able to jump and hold my breath.
Oh my god.
You know what, Neve? You were thinking ahead, and I respect it.
Yeah. Okay. Would you rather see every muffin as a baby or every baby as a muffin?
Oh,
Every baby is a muffin. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's funnier.
I think a supermarket trips would become horrifying.
Yeah. Okay. In 40 years, what will people be nostalgic for?
Let's fight a boss.
Video
Perfect.
games. Okay. Would you rather have straight legs or straight arms? What?
Like you
there's
can't
no
bend them?
There's no bend. I guess I like bending my knees. So
Yeah, I like sitting.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to go with straight legs. Because I feel like I could, if enough time went by, I could learn to walk with them in a way that people were like, wow, check out the swagger on John.
Like Cotton Hill from King of the Hill.
But there's a lot of stuff I like. There's a lot of stuff I like doing with my arms, and I would be sad if I lost it.
Yeah, probably legs as well. But again, robotic now, so it's fine.
Yeah. What's the weirdest?
So they're just strips of metal.
Just poles.
Okay. What's the weirdest thing you've ever seen in someone else's house? Okay, so in John's house, there's this photograph of a boy, and I'm like, who's that boy? And John's like, that's me! But it didn't look like him. It didn't look like him. It looked like some other child. I was like, is that your cousin? Why'd you have a photo of your cousin in this room? Is this like a cousin of like a sibling that passed away or something? And John was like, that was me. And I was like, that doesn't look like you. It really...
I can't believe your mind went to, is this a photo of your cousin who died?
Yeah. It made me ask a lot of questions. So yeah, it was weird.
Wow. I stayed in digs before in my first year of college, and it was an elderly couple who turned out to be trophy hunters, and they just had wild animals all over their house. And let me tell you, as a little country girl who loves animals, it was very upsetting to have a bison's face over your bed. They had a literal cheetah rug. It was fucking terrifying.
Oh, wow. Okay, I've never seen one of them in real life.
Oh my god.
I always remember there was this guy in my old school, and he was kind of like the guy a lot of people picked on, and I felt kind of bad for him. But he was kind of uptight and did bring it on himself to a certain degree. Like, people would be mean to him, and he didn't deserve it. But sometimes I'd be like, oh God, Ronan, don't.
Classic Ronan.
But one time I was in his room, and his mom was kind of infamous for being kind of weird. One time a guy sat on the bonnet of her car, and she accelerated the car forward to get him off. Like you know Trail of Blood, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I got a very intense
I was in
woman.
his room. Yeah, I was in his room, and she had pinned to his wall a newspaper article called "The Importance of Etiquette in Young Men." And I always remember seeing that, and like, so much of this guy's existence made sense to me. You know what I mean?
Oh god.
That's kind of dark.
Yeah. It was.
That is so controlling, and just don't, no.
Hope that dude's alright.
I hope so too. Okay, then last question. What is your spirit animal, and what would you call it?
A very angry little goat
Okay.
Hell yeah.
called Michael.
What's his name?
Moo, Michael.
Cool. What about you, Brian?
Mine is a giant guinea pig, and he's called Big Brian.
That's cool. Mine is an exact duplicate of me, and he's called John 2.
Not an animal, but or is
We're all
he?
animals, Neve.
He's a predator.
Hey, we can talk about it again. I'm a predator. I've talked about it before. I'm a predator. I'm the apex predator. Like that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so there you go. Thank you, Emmett. Those were some great questions. We learned a lot of stuff about each other.
For a second there, I thought Brian was going to be like, we got some real shit this week.
No, it's all good stuff.
Okay. We've kind of answered questions similar to this one before, but this is a kind of fun one. Interacting with fans.
Yeah.
And this is from Capro. How do you cope with the concept of having fans, particularly Neve and Brian? Do you feel a sense of power, or do you feel responsibility to us?
No, go on.
There's two more, but we'll answer this one first.
Okay. I don't feel a sense of power, but I do feel a sense of responsibility in that I should probably be careful what I say, or not be so loose with stuff, even though you end up doing that after talking for 2+ hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely jokes you can make with your friends.
Oh yeah.
That like don't translate to an audience of thousands of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you totally forget about this because this is like a conversation, and right now it feels like a phone call with your friends. But like even a few weeks ago, I was like, send boob pics, and like I've thought about that multiple times since I've said it, because I was just like, oh my god, what was I thinking? Because
so irresponsible, but
a
it's
passive
funny.
joke could be, not that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we get what you mean. An
Yeah.
impressionable fan might not.
Exactly.
And I think if that actually happened, that would be a total, okay guys, we need to talk.
Yup.
Because something has gone wrong.
I'm always worried about stuff getting taken out of context.
Yeah.
And
Also
so
because
that's it.
American people don't understand sarcasm.
No, and they don't do irony at all.
Yeah, so I sometimes worry that people take things extremely serious, where a lot of this, I think, is more lighthearted.
Yes. You could tell when we're actually being serious. Like, most of the time we're just having a laugh.
I don't feel like... It's weird to think of having fans just conceptually,
Yes.
you know?
Well, you do.
Yeah, I've met a lot of them. Lovely people.
Because I'm pretty sure I would be their fans too, you know? Like, what is a fan?
Neve, I haven't... You know, you can tell we're being serious. She was clearly not being serious. Neve would not be anyone's fan. Sorry, guys.
Neve's a fan of one person. Neve.
It's true.
Have you had any/many negative fan experiences, either from fans or as a fan?
I know, like, in animation, you go to Annecy and you meet your favorite animator, and they can, and because animators are very awkward, they're just very awkward too, and the whole thing is just kind of a bit disappointing, but not like bad. It's just kind of like, it's a very normal thing.
Who'd you meet, Brian?
Like, this I don't actually have a good example of this, but I guess it's like, you know how you...
That was me with David O'Reilly.
Yeah. It was...
Yeah, just I really liked his stuff at the time, and it was such an awkward half conversation, and I felt real bad afterwards.
Yeah, like, I guess when you're younger, you have your imaginary conversations, and then when it actually happens, and it doesn't play out that way, you're just kind of underwhelmed, but really, like, I don't know what you're expecting.
Yeah, I met Tegan and Sarah after a concert once, and both of them were so tired, so pissed off. Like, we got to go into their dressing room because a person I knew their manager, blah blah blah. But my strongest takeaway from it was I just felt so bad. Like, I felt so bad putting myself on them when all they wanted to do was do a Skype call with their parents, you know what I mean? And they were just wrecked. Yeah. And then they were like, shit, someone knew our manager, and now we have to be nice to people. And that was the moment I decided I never wanted to meet anyone famous again, because I presume they just don't want to meet you.
I met Tim and Eric once, and they were very nice, but you could tell that they were like, okay, yeah, you could do your photo. Do you have any questions? No? Okay. Do you want to go then?
In terms of having like any bad experiences with fans, I was thinking about this, and honestly, I would say most of the like negative experiences I've had with fans, and like there really hasn't been many at all considering the amount of people I've met, but I think it's always from people who are maybe just trying a bit too hard, either trying to, like, I don't know, maybe like force a sense of familiarity that isn't there, or just like I've had people kind of just be like kind of assholes, and I'll be like, dude, what are you doing? And they'll just immediately retract and be like, I just, because I know you meet so many people and I just wanted to make an impression. And it's like, don't do that, you know? And a lot of the best, you know, I remember one of my like best fan interactions ever was I was at a meetup. I was at someone else's meetup at MagFest, and we shared like a lot of the same audience, and I got talking to someone afterwards, and just really sound person, just like really chill, really nice. His name was Marcus, and I was really hungry, so I was like, I'm gonna go grab some pizza if you want to come. And so we ended up getting pizza and just talking for a little while, and then I kind of mentioned offhand that I was a YouTuber, and he was like, oh, I know who you are, like I've watched all your videos. And that was like, it was nice that it wasn't a big deal, you know what I mean? It was nice that we could just have a very regular kind of conversation. And like, I get why people want to make like a big impression sometimes, because I've definitely done that with people I like. But I think like the more chill you can be and the more casual, the more it has a chance of being like an actual nice interaction.
Yeah, for both parties.
And if you're going to cons, you know, just personal hygiene's important.
I haven't,
just because there was.
Go on, John. Sorry.
There was one time, and Brian, you were there.
I was, and this is
I don't want to give any details.
Yeah, no, but John, this is something I think about every 2 months.
I know, but I took a photo with a young man, and like he was very nice, but just the overpowering smell of body odor was so strong. Like I really had to try and not like scrunch up my face for the photo, and that isn't always pleasant. But like, you know, I always say this stuff, like 99.9% of the fans I meet are just sweet and lovely, and it's one of my favorite things about this podcast and doing YouTube shit. So yeah. Has anyone ever sent fan art or fan tale of their own? If so, has what has it and to whom? What has it been and to whom? We gotten a bunch of fan art over the years.
Yeah, we have.
And let me tell you, every time we get fan art, makes my fucking day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fan art's fucking awesome.
Absolutely love it.
I would love to meet more people. Like both you guys have been like to cons, obviously, but I haven't. So I would like to meet more people just to even get a bad experience under my belt. Like, if you're out there, you have the opportunity to give me my worst fan experience.
Oh no, Neil.
And she's had so little, it could also be the best.
Yeah.
Niamh, did you see the dates for MagFest?
I did. They're great.
I'm so happy.
They're more accessible.
Oh my god, I'm so happy. Yeah. I think I'm definitely locked in for MagFest next year. Fan fiction or fan, I don't know what Let's Fight a Boss fan fiction is. The thought of it would kind of frighten me.
I don't think that's appropriate. Don't do that. But fan art's great.
Well, it doesn't.
If it's an
It
AU
have to
where
be-
we're like in a different
like
universe,
it doesn't have to be like
yeah.
unseemly.
Okay.
And I meet Lara
Okay,
Croft.
putting out a request for some above board, safe for work, non-weird Let's Fight a Boss fan fiction.
We'll read it.
I'll read it. Yeah, I'll totally read it. We'll have a fan fiction corner next episode.
Okay.
And we get so many fucking cool pieces of fan art. I love them. And just saying, if people want to send some our way, I really love that stuff a lot.
Have you ever drawn fan art for anything, John? For a person?
For like a real person.
Well, like, just like on the other end, have you ever created any fan content for something?
I draw a lot of like fan art for video games and stuff like that. Like that's kind of most of what I draw.
Okay.
Yeah.
One
I've
time.
drawn like wrestlers and like Kenny Omega and Asuka and stuff, but like I wouldn't send it to them or anything.
A few years ago, I met Penn Ward, the creator of Adventure Time, and John and my partner Rebecca had both done Adventure Time prints, and they each gave me one of their prints, and I gave them to Penn Ward, and he said, "Thank you very much." So there you go.
Straight in the bin.
Yeah.
I hope not.
No. If I was someone, I would keep all the fan art. In fact, I do. I have a little folder that says, Let's Fight a Boss fan. And it's where I keep any of the physical fan art and notes we get.
They're always super
Yeah,
super
they're
cute and sweet.
I love
Yeah.
those.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a really wholesome email.
It was. I like those kind of emails.
I feel good now. Guys, let's move into Patreon shoutouts.
Fuck yeah. Here we go. The realest part of the podcast where shit gets fucking...
This is real. All the shit we've talked about up till now, bunch of bollocks.
Like,
doesn't matter.
like
here's where it
like
matters.
J-Lo, Ja Rule, I'm real. Here we go.
This is real. Patreon.com/LFAB. If you're a real hard ass motherfucker, that's the address you need. Right, Niamh?
Absolutely.
Please support
Hard
us.
asses.
Yeah, no cowards. No cowards, okay? I don't want to be supported by cowards. I want to be supported by the just toughest group of people ever, like the people who already support us, who we love, who sometimes leave us messages that sound a little like this. This is from Thelrin Lung.
That's the Iron Lung.
Bosscast. Oh, god damn it.
Telron is pretty good name though.
Telron Lung.
Thelron Lung. Yep. The Iron Lung. Bosscast, can you please tell me friend Sean Bean... What? Bosscast, can you please tell me friend Sean Bean that Funko Pops are a blight to society? Okay, I think I understand the sentiments of this. Funko Pops are bad.
They're not good.
I like that someone's
They're
friend
no
is
good.
Sean Bean.
Go you, Thelron.
I really, really enjoyed how that sentence got better as it went down. Me friend.
Niamh, you want to take this next one?
This is from Repeater Weeder, pumpkin eater.
So I have to edit every time I do my credits roll at the end of a video. I have to cut the second half of that name off manually because it's too long for me to fit on the screen.
That's a pity because it is a fantastic name.
It is.
You could shorten it to Repeater Pumpkin.
But then,
Weeder.
yeah. But Pumpkin Eater.
I did say his name in a video, or their name in a video as a kind of compensation, but yeah.
Okay.
I have to do that so much. It takes like an hour.
How to remove snake from crawl space. Whoops. Wrong tab.
Very
Is that true? Did you actually have a snake in your crawl space? Does that happen a lot in Texas?
Please follow up with this story. I want to know.
Yeah. Is it like that episode of Always Sunny where they have a cat stuck in the crawl space?
All right. And then this is from Geo Biden 23. Dr. John, how does it feel after 100 episodes to be the weak one of the three?
I guess this one's like another misspelling or something as well. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know. How's it feel?
How does what feel?
To be the weakest one of the three.
You tell me.
I'm the strongest.
NieR's the strongest. Come on, let's not fucking... let's not fuck around here, Brian.
Okay, NieR's the strongest, but I think I'm the strongest.
Okay, NieR's the strongest. I know I'm number 2.
I'm definitely the number 2. John, you're number 3.
Loot drop!
We're at the end of the show. We got some stuff for you. Hope you like it.
Yeah, this feels like a long one. Oh my god, we're over 3 hours. This is a fat boy.
I love this episode so much.
I think we hit our stride.
I think we figured it out. Maybe we never have to see each other again.
No, I like seeing you guys.
God.
No. I need my John and Neve.
Oh. Okay.
Neve, go ahead.
Yeah, Neve, go on. 3, 2, 1, here's
mine
Neve.
is The Outrage is Not the Boobs by Renegade Cut. I just felt this was kind of a timely video right now because a lot of gamers are a little upset about Jill's skort. And in a few days' time, it might with the release of Final Fantasy VII Remake, it might reignite the conversation about Tifa's boobs.
Neve, I have a question. How come when cultural artifacts are destroyed from any culture, it's always a big deal except when it happens to gamers?
Gamers are salivating over Tifa.
Gamers don't deserve rights. So this is Renegade Cut. The Outrage is about control, not breasts.
Ah.
Oh, I like your title better.
It's not about the boobs.
I got another one from In Praise of Shadows, and I've been watching a lot of this guy's stuff. He has a lot of very long videos that are really great to watch if you have, like, you know, some free time, as many people do in this quarantine. But this is like an hour-long video about, like, the kind of lineage of like creepy clowns in horror movies, and it's so good. It's so good, and like it has some really like poignant like ideas about like why clowns are frightening and kind of the appeal of them and everything, and it's just great. It's really well edited. There's so many like just fucking weird clown movies I found out that I really just have to watch now, and In Praise of Shadows, video about clowns. Brian.
Yes. Mine is a YouTube channel that got recommended called Implant Games. And this is one of those mid-tier YouTube channels that should have way more subs than it does for the work they put in. But
how many subs do they have?
I think it's like 30,000 or maybe 20,000, somewhere in that range, I think. And like, it's a fairly standard like Nintendo fan YouTube channel where they just like talk about like 90s platformers from Nintendo, Rare, and Sega, and like a couple of Zelda games and Metroid games too. But the person making the videos does a good job at not making them retrospectives or synopsises, but rather just like a very simple conversational analysis. which I think is good because sometimes you watch like a video about Super Mario World and they're just listing stuff off. But the person who runs this,
I don't need the history of Metroid explained to me again.
Exactly. And so what this guy does is, and I've linked the Super Mario World video and specifically just because I think it's a good example, but they do a good job of like saying, oh, I'm a big fan of this game. Here's everything I like about it. And then here's a list of things I don't like about it. And then here's a list of things that you might not have noticed about this game that it's doing for the first time. Like I never realized in Super Mario World that it's the first time there's been text boxes in the game that tell you how to use your abilities. Because before that, it was always the level design would tell you how to, jump or avoid enemies or, maneuver Mario in the possible ways you can.
Yeah.
And he kind of points out stuff like that in Super Mario World there's less abilities than there are in Super Mario Bros. 3, but the abilities you have more variety to them. And it's just nice observations like that. I think it's really hard to come across a channel where they just don't reread the Wikipedia article, but the person's actually played the game and really thought about it. And I like that. And they have a video for every obvious Nintendo game out there. And they're all
They've been making videos for 9 years.
Yeah, and they're just very, very digestible to watch. And this is the kind of channel I like that should get a shout out.
Cool. Good stuff. We made it to the end of another podcast.
Yeah, we did.
What number is this? What episode?
I think it's 122. Yeah,
122 and number 2 in quarantine.
Yes. Probably not the last quarantine episode by the sounds of things, but I think we've hit a stride, that's for sure.
I think we just needed to find our rhythm with it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this was fun. It was nice to interact with both of you and our many wonderful fans.
Yeah. This has just been a really, really sweet and endearing phone call.
Yeah, it really has. It has powered me up
good.
for the next 3.5 hours. And then after that, we're back in Shitsville.
Down you go.
And I hope that's the same for all our listeners, that you got 3 hours where things feel a little bit more normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hope everyone's staying safe out there, and hope people are not going too insane, because this shit sucks.
Yeah. Please stay safe.
Stay safe, guys. We love you, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Save Martha. Bye.